A very good evening to all of you. Welcome to the GK Marathon Part 2. So here we'll be discussing the remaining topics that we had left from October onwards, right, from the first GK Marathon that we had. We're going to see very interesting topics. This marathon will be for 3 hours only. So here we will be covering all the important necessary topics that we have left from the previous marathon and the new topics of the recent months that we have seen. So let's begin with the GK Marathon. Now, before we move on to the GK Marathon, what are the important topics? I'm going to start with a very unconventional topic that we normally kind of miss. And this particular topic has been in the news in the recent times that we have seen. So we are going to start, or we're going to delve into the arena of sports. Okay, so we have seen India has done a tremendous job, an amazing job in this particular field that we have, right? So we are going to be seeing what exactly are the different sports that we have excelled. Now remember, we've also done some sports in the first marathon that we've seen. So we're going to do the remaining parts here, right? We're going to see the remaining parts where in which sport that we have done well. Remember, we have also seen that yesterday I have put a GK marathon, or you can say a weekly MIT, or the most important topic on chess. So we've already covered chess, so I'm not going to use this time for discussing chess once again. You can watch the chess part in the weekly MIT, already done. So let's start firstly with a question. Okay, so we're going to start with a question now, and let's see if you're able to answer this question. Come on, the question is on your screens. So let me know what is the answer for this particular question. I'm going to read it for you. The first question says, with reference to the Asia Cup, consider the following statements. Okay, the tournament is organized by the Asian Cricket Council. It is the only continental championship in cricket, and India has won the Asia Cup 6 times. What is your answer? Put that in the comment section quickly. All right, so do we have the answer? All right, so here, to answer this question, okay, I'm going to explain now what is Asia Cup. Okay, so if you've not got the answer, we will understand, because we will see different type of questions. I'm going to keep having little quiz. So let's have this a little interactive session that we have. Okay, so we'll start with understanding firstly the Asia Cup, and here we understand about the Asia Cup for cricket. Okay, so when I'm talking about Asia Cup, here I'm talking about cricket. We're going to see also with regard to hockey. So first let's see with regard to cricket. So firstly, when was it held first? Here the answer is 1984, and it happened firstly in Sharjah, United Arab Emirates, UAE. Okay, now what's the format of the Asia Cup? It alternates between ODI, one-day innings, as well as with regard to T20. So 50 overs and 20 overs that we see, right? So it alternating kind of formats year by year. This year, that is the 17th Asia Cup, this was in 2025. And who hosted this? This again was hosted by United Arab Emirates, by UAE. All right. Now, here, who has won the most amount of titles? The answer here is India, with a total of 9 titles. Okay, 7 in ODI, 2 in T20. Then we have Sri Lanka in 6 titles, and Pakistan with 2 titles. Okay, now what is the official mascot of the Asia Cup? Remember, the official mascot is called as Sheru, which symbolizes strength, courage, unity. Okay, so this is the mascot. You have to remember the name of the mascot is Sheru. Now let's understand who won the 17th Asia Cup. So as we can see on the screens, it was India who beat Pakistan by 5 wickets. Okay, we won this by 5 wickets, and the player of the match, player of the series is something that you have to remember. Player of the match is Tilak Verma, and player of the series, or the man of the series, is Abhishek Sharma. Okay, so you have to remember these facts with regard to the Asia Cup. Now let's understand with regard to the Women's World Cup. Okay, so we're going to see with regard to the Women's World Cup as well, because this again happened quite recently. So we may expect some questions coming from there. So firstly, who was it organized by? It was organized by the International Cricket Council, and here remember, it happens every 4 years. Okay, it happens every 4 years. So the first time it was held in 1973. It happened in England. Now remember, this happened even before, 2 years before the Men's World Cup. Okay, 2 years before the Men's World Cup. So Men's World Cup happened in 1975. The Women's World Cup happened 2 years before, 1973. So originally it was organized by International Women's Cricket. That happened till 2005. Okay, it was the Women's Cricket Council, but now it is done by the International Cricket Council, the ICC. Now this happens again with a round robin or the knockout stages. So one plays with the other, and then you group A, group B, and you play with each of the players. That's how it goes. Now the dominant teams or the most number of titles have been won by Australia. So in this case, in the women's ODI, we have Australia who has won the most number of times. We also see England, New Zealand, okay, who have won it. And recently added to this list, we have India who won this particular year. So India is in the club now with regard to the winners of the Women's ODI World Cup. So who hosted this particular event? Now we see that India's hosting years have been 1978, 73, 2013 and 2025. And this year, with regard to 2025 World Cup, it was jointly hosted by India as well as Sri Lanka. Alright, so this is something that you have to remember. Now let's see with regard to about this particular aspect, who has won the most number of times, as or you can see the last 4 times who has won this. I told you it happens once in 4 years. So we have the 13th edition this year, this has taken place, and the last, so this year it was India, previously we had Australia, England, and previously again Australia. Alright, so far teams that have won is Australia with the most number of times, England, New Zealand, and this time it's India. Let's also now see about the ODI and who did India beat to win this particular title. This is India's first ever title. That's why this can be asked. Okay, so this is the first time we have won this particular World Cup, and we defeated South Africa. Okay, now this happened in India itself. We see we were the hosting nation. It happened in Navi Mumbai, DY Patil Stadium, and we see that India is the first non-Western nation, we say, to win this particular World Cup. Alright, now again some key facts that you have to remember for the exam. Who was the coach? He was Amol Muzumdar. Okay, the captain of South Africa was Laura Walwart. So we played against their team. The player of the match is Shafali Verma, and player of the tournament is Deepti Sharma. Okay, so you have to remember some key facts about this particular tournament. So the facts are presented. Quickly note it down. All right, now let's move on to another sports event. Again, a question for you. Quickly answer this. Who won the 2025 Asia Cup in men's hockey? Your answers in the comment section. All right, quickly drop in your answers. Okay, I see some answers coming in. Very well. Okay, so again, I see answers are coming in. We have seen the answer here is India. India beat South Africa. So confusion was between A or B. The answer to the question is B. Alright. Now let's see with regard to the Hockey World Cup. We'll see some important facts in this particular case. So here remember again, this happens once in 4 years. It's a quadrennial international men's hockey, once in 4 years. Who does it? Who is it organized by? It is organized by the Asian Hockey Federation. And remember, India has defeated South Korea by 4-1 score. Okay, now where did this particular event take place? The venue of this was Rajgir, Bihar. Okay, it was hosted in India itself. So again, this makes this important. Hosted in India, won by India. So here we also see that because of this win, we have directly qualified to the FIH Men's Hockey World Cup, which is going to take place in Belgium and Netherlands. So again, they can ask you which is the host country for the FIH, the Men's Hockey World Cup taking place. All right. Apart from that, we see which is the country that has won most number of times this particular cup. The answer to the question is India. All right, so India is the fourth, this is for India, this is the fourth Asia Cup, so in the most number of times, followed by which we have Pakistan, who has won this 3 times, and Korea has won it also 5 times, okay? So this is with regard to the other countries. India has won it. So the most number of times, if we see, then will be Korea, because they have won it 5 times, okay? So Korea has won it 5 times, India is 4, Pakistan is 3. So that is the most number of times that you have to remember. The mascot of this particular case, in this case, is Chand. Okay, so what is Chand? So this is a fierce tiger draped in a red cape, crowned with a magician's hat. Okay, now what does it symbolize? This symbolizes skill, courage, pride, and this is inspired by Bihar's Valmiki Tiger Reserve. All right, so this is Bihar's Valmiki Tiger Reserve is where this particular mascot Chand is inspired from. So this is all with regard to the Hockey Asia Cup. Let's now move into some important aspects with regard to the awards, the prizes, and one such that is the hot topic in this particular session, that is the Nobel Prize. So we're going to deep dwell into the Nobel Prize. What is the Nobel Prize? Which are the recipients this year? Important recipients with regard to India and the world. Let's quickly see this. Starting with, what is the Nobel Prize? This is a set of international awards that are given every year, right? And this is mainly for some remarkable research work that they have done with regard to contribution to the society with regard to their research, right? So this was established. Why did the name come as Nobel Prize? That is because it is as per the will of Alfred Nobel, who himself was an inventor, a Swedish engineer, who is credited to have developed dynamite, right? And this dynamite, he used nitroglycerin to create this particular dynamite. So we decided that whatever his wealth was, he would give it for, the remarkable research that is there, the greatest benefit to humanity. Such research work that has contributed a lot to the society. So here we see that it was first presented in 1901. So 1896 is when Alfred Nobel died. Fifth death anniversary of Alfred Nobel in 1901, it was first given. Right, so remember, the prizes are only given to individuals, but there is an exception, that is in case of Peace Prize. Peace Prize can be given to either individuals or it can be given to institutions. Clear? Now, maximum people that can win for a single award is 3. So that's why you'll find a group of 3 people winning in economic sciences, or you can say medicine, right, or physics. More than 3 you will not find. So 3 is maximum. Now, can you get this award after death? That is posthumous. Do you get this award after death? No. Okay. So this award is not given posthumously, or that means it's only given to people that are alive, right? So when are these awards announced? These awards are announced in the month of October. In fact, you can even remember it, Alfred Nobel himself was born in the month of October 21st or so, 1833. And he died in December. Okay, when? On December 10th he died. So that's why it's called as Nobel Day, and this is when the awards are given. Okay, they are awarded, the awards are presented to the awardees on December 10th. Announcements happen in October, given in December. Now let's understand about these Nobel Prize laureates quickly, about what do they receive. So they receive a gold medal. Okay, it is also called as green gold, because it is with regard to a certain element that we talk about, sustainable formation of this particular goal that we talk about, and it symbolizes, of course, honor, achievement. We also see a diploma is given, which is signed by the awarding institutions. We're going to see which are the awarding institutions as well. And a hefty cash amount. What is the cash amount this year? We see it is approximately 11 million kronos. Okay, 11 million Swedish. So it's kronos is the currency of Sweden. Swedish kronos, which is approximately over 1 million US dollars. All right. Now let's quickly see with regard to what are the categories that you can win the Nobel Prize. So we see that there are 5 categories, and remember, one of them was added later on. So the one that was added later on was economic sciences, and the other that we see are physics, chemistry, physiology, medicine, literature, peace. Okay, and this was added when? In 1968, and it was not called as Nobel Prize. It was called as the Sverig's Riksbank Prize in Economic Science. So don't get confused if this is mentioned in your exam. This is nothing but, in simple terms, Nobel Prize for Economic Sciences. Okay, so remember this, Sverig's Riksbank Prize. So this is again in memory of Alfred Nobel. It was introduced in the 300th anniversary of the Sweden's central bank. So we see that there are 6 such categories. Now again, remember, in these, the 6, okay, so we talk about these first 5. First 5 are presented in Sweden. Only Peace Prize is awarded in Oslo, Norway. Okay, so the first 5 are presented in Stockholm, Sweden, and only the Peace Prize is awarded in Oslo, Norway. Now let us see why and how this has happened, because we see the awarding institutions are what. So when you talk about chemistry, physics, economic sciences, the awarding institute is which? The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences. For literature, it is only the Swedish Academy. Okay, for medicine and physiology, we have Nobel Assembly at the Karolinska Institute. And for peace, we have the Norwegian. So Norwegian is the awarding institutions, which is in Norway. That's why we have the award given in the Peace Award is given in Norway. So all the Nobel Prizes are given in Stockholm, except for the Nobel Peace Prize, which is awarded in Oslo, Norway. Now let us see which are the important recipients that we need to know. Again, I'm going to ask a quick question. Who has refused to take the Nobel Prize? Quickly add the answer in the comment section. I see many students are being very interactive. I'm super happy to see this. Okay, so we are going to see the recipients of the Nobel Prize quickly. The first woman, that is Marie Curie. Remember, she won this award twice, okay, for 2 fields, for physics and for chemistry. She's the first woman to win it. We have the youngest person to win the Nobel Prize, that is Malala Yousafzai. We also have the most number of awards that have been won, that is been won by an institution called as the Red Cross Society, commonly called, otherwise it's also called as the International Committee of the Red Cross. So this has won this 3 times. The oldest that we talk about is John B. Goodenough for his invention of the lithium batteries. Okay, so the ones that have not accepted the Nobel Prize, what's your answer quickly? Yes? Let's be more interactive. Let's keep messaging. Very good. John Paul Sartre. And there's one more. One more answer. There are 2 people that have refused. Yes, apart from John Paul Sartre, anybody else? Yes, Le Dukto, that is right. Absolutely good. So I see Sri Ram, Pranav, Eklavya. Very well. Keep answering. Yes, Gargi, yes. All right. Let's now understand also this year's Nobel Peace Prize. So we've already gone through this before. We've also done this in our daily news analysis. So this is more of a quick recap with regard to the Nobel Peace Prize of 2025. We talk about peace. Unfortunately, it's not Donald Trump. Okay, or fortunately, however you like to say. We see it's Maria Corina Machado, and she's won for promoting democracy. She's the opposition leader in Venezuela. Then we have in medicine, that is Mary, Fred, and Shimon. We know them by their first names. That'll make it easier. Again, this is mainly for the immunity, the T cells that we call about, or called as TREGs. Then we have for physics. Physics is won by John Michael John, and this is mainly for quantum tunneling phenomena. Then we have for chemistry. and that's one by Susumo, Richard and Omar, and this is for the metal organic frameworks, mainly for gas storage, for clean energy that we talk about. Then we have literature. Now this is one by Laszlo. He's from Hungary, and he has mainly won this mainly for his work of writing. So apocalyptic writing, that he say, apocalyptic prose exploring human conditions and so on. So he's done number of works like Satan Tango, War and War. Okay, so these are some of the works of Laszlo. And finally we see economic sciences. We have Joel, Philip and Peter. Now this is for their work in innovation-driven growth and creative destruction. So that is the theory that is given by them, and these are the winners of the Nobel Prize. Now we'll move on to say the Indian winners. So a quick recap of all the winners that have won it from India, starting with the first Indian or the first non-European itself is Rabindranath Tagore. It's important to know that Mahatma Gandhi was nominated 5 times, but he's never won a Nobel Prize. Okay, so remember this. So Rabindranath Tagore has won this for literature. His work was Gitanjali. Then we see physics. So first time we won in physics, that was C.V. Raman. Also won it for the Raman effect that we know of. Then we have 1968 for medicine, Hargobind Khurana. Mother Teresa, she's the first Indian woman to win the Nobel Prize. Indian woman, she won it in 1979. Then we see Subramaniam Chandrasekhar won it for physics. Okay, we have Amartya Sen, 1998. He has won this for economic sciences. Then we have 2009 Venkatraman Ramakrishna, chemistry. Kailash Satyarthi, that is one for peace. And finally, the latest that we've ever won was in 2019. That is Abhijit Banerjee along with his partner Esther Duflo, and they have won it for economic sciences, right? So this is with regard to Indian awardees. You can have a quick look, you can have a quick jot down these important facts, so you have it all in one place, right? So now let's move on to another project or important thing that has been in the news, in fact throughout the year, and that is with regard to the Great Nicobar project. Okay, so we're going to see about this project. We're going to see why is it significant. We're also going to see why is there opposition to this particular project. We're also going to see about Great Nicobar, the island. Okay, so let's start with how did this project come into being. It was in 2021 who launched this particular operation or project. The answer is Niti Aayog. So Niti Aayog is the one that launched it in 2021, gave a hefty corpus which is 72,000 crore, and for this we also see that initiated the Great Nicobar project, and the whole name of the project is Andaman and Nicobar Islands of Holistic Development of Great Nicobar Island. Now this is implemented by which body? The implementation agency is ANIIDCO, which is Andaman Nicobar Island Integrated Development Cooperation. Okay, now in this project, what are we developing? We're developing significant projects. Which are these projects? Like we have International Container Transshipment Terminal, we have the Greenfield International Airport, we have Greenfield Cities, we have rapid transport systems, trade zones, a cruise terminal. Now this has been a new addition to it, as well as a ship breaking yard. So number of projects that we are seeing in regard to the development of the Great Nicobar. Now let's understand why is this significant. So many projects, what are we achieving in this case? Here we see we are achieving many such things. Firstly, the geostrategic importance. We know that Andaman lies closer to the Strait of Malacca, which is a major shipping line that rotates or that goes through, that carries a lot of trade. So again, being closer to this area, we're going to be more connected regionally and globally with regard to the maritime trade. We also see this will also strengthen our security, because now we can keep our presence in the Indian Ocean. We can create bases there, and we can have stronger presence in the Indian Ocean. We can also have military upgradation by having airfields, jetties. Okay, defense infrastructure can be improved in this case. Economic boost. So we talk about a number of terminals that we're going to make, right? Apart from terminals, we're also talking about projects that we talk about, greenfield projects and so. So this is going to make a major cargo hub in regard to Great Nicobar. This will also create more jobs. And finally, we talk about tourism. Because of the development that we're going to see, tourism is going to get a push in this particular region. Now there has been opposition. Now this is very important because opposition, we are highlighting some important tribes that stay here. They are, we are highlighting some important national parks that are there. We're highlighting important species that are here. So which are these species? Let us quickly see. Starting with what or why have they got the opposition? The opposition is with regard to the tribals that are staying there, their land rights, as well as also the ecological damage that this project, if made, will create. So firstly, we see that 130 square kilometer of forest land will be used. 10 lakh trees will be cut. So January 2021, we see the government denotified Galatia Bay and the Megaport Wildlife Sanctuary so that they can have the project kick-started. So they started with this. So of course, environment activists, conservationists, they oppose this particular project. We also see why is this a bigger threat to Galatia Bay? Because Galatia Bay is one such region which is a nestling site for the giant leatherback turtle. Okay, so giant leatherback turtle's major key site is this particular region. So that will again affect this particular biodiversity species, right? And we also can talk about, apart from the leatherback, we also have the Nicobar megapod. So these are mainly scheduled species, okay, scheduled 1. That means highest protection is what is given to these species. So very important species, leatherback you have to remember, and the Nicobar megapod. Apart from that, in 2022, we see the problems that were again given by the Tribal Council of Great and the Little Nicobar, which withdrew its no objection. They said that, okay, you can go ahead with this project. Again, protest occurred that how this council also agreed for this, okay, because people here were opposing it. So the land was marked as unoccupied by the Niti Aayog, okay. So they did that. And these were lands of these ancestral tribes that were living there. So again, opposition. Which are the tribes that we're talking about that live in Great Nicobar? That is the Shompen tribe. Okay, that's one such tribe that, apart from that, we have the Nicobarese. Okay, they are mainly there. So these tribes have minimal interaction with the outside world. So if at all it so happens that employment increases, tourism increases, the interactions will increase and probably they will be exposed to many health issues. We also see they will fall within the transshipment terminal, the shipments that they are, settlements that they have. And this region is also seismically active ring of fire. That means it's prone to earthquakes, it's prone to regions of, maybe tsunamis, and if you talk about volcanoes, okay. So most, we can say, active tectonically. So this can be another issue with regard to zone 5. Zone 5 is the most dangerous zone when we talk about earthquakes, okay. So they are more prone to earthquakes. So higher chances of earthquakes is what this region entails. Now let's quickly go through this particular island itself. Now again, a question for you, all right, a question for you coming in, that Andaman and Nicobar Islands, okay, so Andaman and we have Nicobar. So Andaman is on the north, Nicobar is on the south. What is the line that divides the two? What is the line that divides the two? Yes. All right, so we have the answer is 10-degree channel. Very good. Okay, very well. Dev, Gargi, Klavya, very well. Keep answering. Okay, so here we have the Great Nicobar, which is the largest Nicobar island. It also has the Indira Point, which is also called as Pygmalion Point. Okay, which is said to have been submerged. Then we have two national parks. We already saw one, Galatia Bay. The other national park is called as the Campbell Bay. Okay, so Campbell Bay, and the second one we also have the Galatia National Park. We also see that the tribes that are living here, firstly we saw Shompen and the other one is Nicobarese, and the Great Nicobar Biosphere Reserve is also there, which is also part of the Man and Biosphere Reserve, which talks about that it has a lot of species in this particular region which need to be protected, a biosphere reserve. Let's now proceed to the next topic that we have, and this is with regard to cyclones. Okay, so cyclones have been in the news, and let's understand about this geographical phenomena and we will see why it was in the news and so on. So starting with a cyclone. What do you mean by a cyclone? A cyclone is a large rotating air system. So it has in the center, it has a low pressure and it has high pressure around it. Very fast moving winds. And these winds also have a direction. So in the north, in the northern hemisphere, they rotate anti-clockwise. Okay. And in the southern hemisphere, how is the rotation? They rotate clockwise. Now remember, according to the classification that is given to us by the National Disaster Management Authority, we see that there are two types of cyclones. The first one is the tropical cyclones that you find in the tropical region, okay, between Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. And the second one is extratropical cyclones. So extratropical cyclones is in the mid latitudes, okay, that means between 30 to 60 degrees where the tropics are not there, okay, so above the tropics. Now, India lies in the tropical region, so we are facing with the tropical cyclones. Now, let us see which are the tropical cyclones that were in the news and what are the names of the tropical cyclones based on the region that it affects. So, with regard to USA, okay, so the coast of USA, they call it hurricanes. Okay, now quickly tell me what is the recent hurricane that was affected in this region. If you talk about mainly Jamaica, which had the landfall of this, what is the name of the recent hurricane that affected this particular region? Quickly put the answer in the comment section. Name of the hurricane. Yes. Melissa. All right. Okay, now proceeding to another one, typhoons. Again, recently in the news, what is the name of the typhoon that was affecting mainly parts of Philippines as well as Vietnam, also going to affect Thailand? Name of the typhoon that was there in news? Come on quickly. Very well, Gargi. Kalmegi. Okay, and what is the name of the cyclone that has affected India? Very good. Come on. What's the name of the cyclone? Okay. So there's one thing that we know is Monta. So Monta is in the Bay of Bengal region. Can you tell me another cyclone that affected Gujarat? The name of the cyclone that affected Gujarat. Yes, quickly. This was in a few months ago. Okay. The name is Shakti. Okay, so Monta we all know. Shakti also you should know. Okay, chalo. Now let's see with regard to the recent cyclones. As I said, it was not fully developed, or it did not affect much. That's why it was kind of a little hushed, Shakti. And the one that affected mainly parts of Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Odisha, that was cyclone Monta. Now we're going to quickly see how these cyclones are named. We're going to see about these cyclones quickly. How are they classified? So how you measure cyclones? And the cyclones are measured by the wind speeds. Okay, so the wind speeds are mainly calculated, and that's how they are given a category. So when you talk about Northern Atlantic or the Pacific Ocean, when you talk about hurricanes, the scale that is used is Saffir-Simpson. It's category 1 to category 5. Category 1 being the lowest speed, category 5 being the highest speed, the severe category. In India, how do we categorize cyclones? So it is done by the Indian Meteorological Department. The classification is done again by the wind speeds. So here we have depression. Okay, that's the range is lesser, 31 to 49 km per hour. It goes to deep depression, cyclonic storm, severe cyclonic storm, very severe cyclonic storm, extremely severe, and finally a super cyclone. So we were affected by a super cyclone as well in Odisha in the year of 2004. Okay, so what about cyclone Monta? What did we categorize cyclone Monta into? Quickly add your answers. Cyclone Monta is, if you talk about it, what was the category that we have given it? Yes, what's your answer? Yes, super cyclonic storm. Okay, it comes up to super cyclonic storm. I mean severe cyclonic storm. My bad, severe cyclonic storm. All right, so the fourth category. Okay, Now let's understand how the cyclones are named. How did we get Monta? Again, what is the name Monta is given by which country, and what is the meaning of Monta? Quickly add that in the comment section. Cyclone Monta, which country has given the name, and quickly write what is the meaning of Cyclone Monta. Yes. Very well. Yes. Perfect. Very well. So we have Monta is given by Thailand, and the meaning of it is fragrant flower or beautiful flower. Okay, let's quickly go through how these cyclones are named. So the naming began in 2000, and they decided that they have to name it so that they create awareness. Okay, so sometimes it can happen, two cyclones are formed, so maybe in the east coast and the west coast. So to make the people aware about it, to create a little caution about this, they decided that we should name the cyclones. Now remember, whenever they're naming these cyclones also, there is no rude word, bad word, harsh word that will be used. Anything derogatory cannot be used. Within how many letters can the cyclone be named? Okay, the cyclone name should be less than how many letters? Quickly write that in the comment section. Cyclones should be named within how many letters? Quickly. Yes, Yashvi is the first one to answer this correctly. 8 letters. Okay, it should be less than 8 letters. Okay, so yes, coming to understand, we have World Meteorological Organization began this exercise along with the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and Pacific. So this is the particular grouping actually that mainly decides on the grouping. So in the Indian Ocean region that we talk about, IMD is the one that coordinates with this particular body. Okay, now IMD is the one coordinating with the countries and gives the name to WMO. Now, which are the countries that IMD coordinates with? It is 13 member countries. Now, in this, Iran, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE and Yemen, they added a little later in 2018. Originally, we have the other countries that were founders. So, if you have to remember this, you just have to remember which are the countries that have a coast. So, you will not find Bhutan and Nepal because they will not be affected by a cyclone, right? But apart from that, the countries that are in the Indian Ocean region that we talk about, right, and some Middle East countries that are part of this 13 members. So this is an easy way to remember it. We also see that each country gives 13 names. So 13 members, 13 names. So total how many names? 169. 13 into 13. Okay, so once it is used, then it is not going to be used again. Okay, so we'll retire that name, and they come under sequentially. The names are selected again by countries and we go alphabetically. Okay, so this time it's Thailand. So next country we will see after Thailand, UAE probably will give the next name. Now we also see that IMD is the one that coordinates and ensures that the names are given to the cyclones that are formed in the Bay of Bengal and in the Arabian Sea. So that is all with regard to Cyclone Monta. Let us now proceed to the next article. All right. Any questions, any doubts, any problems that you're facing? You can be vocal about it. You can let me know, as well as we can take that up. If you want me to go fast, quick, if you want me to go slow, if you're not understood, you can do write in the comment section. Right? We're going to start with India and Afghanistan relations then. And understanding why they were in the news is because we've had somebody from Afghanistan, okay, in a state visit, came to India. So that's why it is in the news and we have to study. Now understand firstly, what is the significance of Afghanistan? Why is Afghanistan important to us? Now, Afghanistan is like that middle link for India towards Central Asia. Okay, so it is a key to India's regional goals when we talk about, okay, and also to counter other countries like Pakistan, who are the neighbors, Pakistan and China. This is like to maintain, we need to keep friends, right? Apart from that, we see it is closer to Central Asia. So again, we need to keep good ties with them. Again, if you talk about stability, Afghanistan is important because it will again curb terrorism around this particular region. So if you want, and we also see that it is part of something called as Golden Crescent. Okay, now quickly, what are the countries that are involved in Golden Crescent? What are the countries that are part of Golden Crescent? Which are the 3 countries that are part in Golden Crescent? Yes. Your answers quickly. Very well. Pakistan, Iran and Afghanistan. Now, why is it called the Golden Crescent? Is because these countries are known for the production of opium. Okay, highest opium production. So we are sandwiched between these countries and Golden Triangle. Now, understand that this again, if you talk about stability, then we will also have less problems, right? Apart from that, this country is rich in resources. So we talk about oil, gas, minerals. We have plenty that are found in Afghanistan. So again, increasing relations will help us, link to these particular resources. Cultural ties are closer. We have historical ties that are there. We have leaders coming from this particular region. So yes, we have close cultural connections with the country. We also see regional cooperations as part of a common grouping. Now, which is the common grouping between India and Afghanistan? Do we have a regional grouping that India, Afghanistan both are partners to? Yes, what's that particular grouping called? It is called as SARC. South Asian Regional Cooperation. Okay, so I had given you a trick, MBBS pain, because Pakistan is also part of it. Remember? So we had done like a short form to remember these countries. You have Maldives, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Afghanistan, India, Nepal. And of course, connectivity link that we talk about, it is a gateway to Central Asia. If you want to increase trade to Central Asia, we can have a good way through this particular region. Now, how have we increased our ties with the country? Now, this is called as Heart Process or Istanbul Process, Heart of Asia Process or Istanbul Process. Now, when was this launched? This was launched in 2011, okay, when we wanted to ensure or assist Afghanistan with peace, stability and development. Okay, now why specifically in 2011? I will explain the history a little later, but for now remember this is the first process that we had started. So connections that we had created, political consultation, community building, okay, training them, cooperating with organizations and so. And in this we see there are 14 other countries also that are part of it. This is to ensure development in Afghanistan in short. Okay, apart from that, we also see what is India's contribution. Now, this is very important. Okay, so what are the projects that we have started here? Let's quickly understand. You have the Delaram-Zaranj highway. We have the parliament building that we did, India-Afghanistan Friendship Dam. What is the name of the dam? It is Salma Dam. And we have transmission lines to Kabul. Okay, we've also given or supplied to them the M125 attack helicopters. Okay, this was in the time period of 2015-16. We've trained them, military training given to about 700 Afghan officers. We've coordinated through groupings like SARC, as I said, common grouping. We also see connectivity through Chabar Port. Now remember, Chabar Port is in Iran. Okay, now Iran provides the kind of a link to Afghanistan. So we see that instead of relying on Gwadar, which is Pakistan port, we rely on Chabar to have relations with Afghanistan. Okay, now apart from that, we send humanitarian aid as well, 27 tons of relief. Remember, recently also, Afghanistan was struck by an earthquake. Now, it is a very earthquake-prone region. Okay, so recently about 6.3 magnitude earthquake that was struck there. Again, in 2022 also the earthquake was there and we helped them. Apart from that, we have the policy of invest and endure. We are not increasing military presence, but we want to have investment, cultural building, capital, capacity building that we talk about. Okay, so this is how we are going to increase our ties. Now let's understand now what is the situation in Afghanistan. Who is ruling Afghanistan? They are ruled by this group called as Taliban, right? Now, how did Taliban come to place? And we're going to see how we are having relations with Taliban. We're going to see that now. So, to understand Taliban, first we will see a little background. So, before Taliban, what is the case? So, we had the Soviet who invaded Afghanistan in the year 1979. Now, to counter these Soviet forces, we see a new group came that was called as Mujahideen fighters. Now, these Mujahideen fighters were helped by USA. Okay, so they were helping USA because we know this is the time of Cold War where Soviet Union and USA were in opposition, right? Were fighting. So, to oust the Soviets, USA helped these Mujahideen fighters, these separatist groups. Okay, their support was required, and in 1980s they were able to repel the Soviet. So, Soviet went away. Soviet forces withdrew in 1989. Okay, now apart from this, we also see that a civil war erupted during this time, okay, and they wanted the control of the country. Okay, so here we see a new form of government, a new group emerges when the civil war was struck. This was Taliban, which was formed in the year 1994. And who formed this? It was Mullah Muhammad Omar. Okay, this was formed in a place called Kandahar. Okay, and Afghans by then did not like these mujahideens because they were tired of all the bloodshed, of the excesses in the fighting that was happening. So they supported, and this Taliban became very popular because mujahideens were kind of losing their popularity back then. Now, because they rose into popularity and they were able to curb corruption, okay, they started making roads and they provided safety for trade. So they were liked by them, and soon they were able to come into power. So 1996 is when they were able to come into power. Okay, now their rule was cut short in 2001. So till 2001 is where they ruled, and why it got cut short we'll be discussing. Now, who are the countries that supported Taliban government? The first time when it came, it was 3 countries like Pakistan, Saudi Arabia and UAE. Okay, now quickly let us see the entry of US. So we know the 9/11 attacks, the September 11, 2001, right? The attacks that had happened in USA by the Al-Qaeda. Now, Al-Qaeda leader was mainly given shelter in Afghanistan by the Taliban leaders. Okay, so the Al-Qaeda leader was Osama bin Laden, and he was in Afghanistan, and the Taliban refused to hand him over. So that led crossover between US and the Taliban. So US again intervened militarily. Okay, US backed forces came into place, and with heavy strikes they attacked. So the US then removed the Taliban from the power. That's why their rule ended in 2001, right? So here we see now the Taliban, they moved into remote areas, they scattered, and we see now US vowed to support democracy. They said now we will have the rule of democracy here. These terrorist threats that are there, where they are giving shelter to these terrorists, all that should stop. So here we see the NATO allies, okay, they joined US, and a new government was supported following 2001. Okay, so the year 2004 they were able to create a strong government in Afghanistan. But again, now we again see Taliban is into place. So how did Taliban come into place again? Now Taliban came into place in 2021. Now why 2021? It is because it was this time when US decided to retrieve. Okay, they have their forces in Afghanistan. So slowly and slowly the US decided to remove or withdraw their US troops. So this was given by Joe Biden in April 2021, where they decided to remove all the US troops. They would leave the country by September 11, 2021. Now, when US retrieved, this gave another opportunity for Taliban to come into position. So that is what happened when Taliban stepped up its campaign. Okay, they decided to defeat the government in May, and they even were able to take into power the capital. Kabul fell into the hands of Taliban. Even the president back then, Ghani, he flew out of the country because he was afraid that this is going to create into a bloody war. Then we see now the Taliban is into force, and now the current leader of Taliban since 2016, in fact, he is Mullah Hibatullah Akhund Sada. Okay, so remember this leader now, this particular leader, who is now, they have installed themselves back into Afghanistan in the presidential palace. Now here is where we see Taliban is now creating, it's been 4 years of their rule, and now they want to create development. They want to ensure that they themselves are the supreme leaders, right? So now they want to create ties with other countries, and for the same purpose we see that Foreign Minister Amir Khan Muttaqi came to India. Okay, so this is a Taliban-led government's foreign minister, who is Amir Khan Muttaqi. In fact, he was in the US sanctions list, but he got a waiver, and that's how he was able to make this visit. So it was an 8-day visit. He also visited a mosque, which is the name of that mosque, or the dargah that he visited. Quickly write that in the comment section. The name of the dargah he visited in Uttar Pradesh. Use the comment section to answer. Quickly, we will also see that what is India's policy. India's policy is to ensure we are engaging, but without recognition. Now, what does this mean? That means we will connect with Taliban, but we are not giving a formal recognition. Why does India not want to formally recognize Taliban? It is because if it does so, then it is going to make this scenario that India supported whatever crimes this Taliban did when they came into power in 2001. It is legitimizing that, right? So that is why India does not want to recognize them. But there are countries that recognize them, and the first country to do so is Russia. Okay, so Russia is the first country to recognize Taliban, especially when it came into rule after 2021. So before that, it was Pakistan, UAE and the other countries, but this is when they came into power. Apart from that, we see China and Pakistan are also creating embassies and envoys, and everything is there still. But remember, India has not officially recognized Taliban. So we see that India, it allows India to maintain measures, it connects with them, but it does not, it tries to avoid any political engagement. That means political risk is what it is avoiding, and this is allowed as per the Vienna Convention, where they says nations can maintain diplomatic ties without having to recognize such a rule. And we've done that, okay? So we've done that for Taiwan, we've done that for Myanmar, so we've done that before as well, and this is what we have adopted. So yes, I asked you what is the name of the dargah, and yes, it was Deoband Darul Ulam, okay, which is in Uttar Pradesh, is where he visited. So that is with regard to India's policies towards Taliban. Now let's quickly move on to the next topic. Again, a hot topic in the news, which is small modular reactors, nuclear energy. India is bringing a bill, India is amending laws. It's always been in the news. Let's quickly see about this particular topic. So here we see that we have nuclear energy mission, and here let us see what is nuclear energy mission. What is India's stand with regard to nuclear energy? Now, India has a target to achieve 100 gigawatt by the year 2047. Okay, we are going to create 100 gigawatt of power, nuclear power, by 2047, which is aligning with Viksit Bharat, that is 100 years of independent year. Okay, so that's Viksit Bharat, where we want to also be a developed country. So the focus here is also on small modular reactors, and it is so given that we at least want to make 5 such small modular reactors by 2033. So this is India's target. We're going to see a little while what is small modular reactors and has India started the production of the same. We also see some laws are going to be amended. It was said so that in the winter session, the coming winter session, we are going to see 2 laws will be amended. The first one is the Atomic Energy Act of 1962, and the other one is the Civil Liabilities Act for Nuclear Damage. Okay, 2010. So what exactly is these 2 laws talking about? The first law, Atomic Energy Act, says that we are going to allow private entities to come into play. Remember, Atomic Energy Act restricted the role of private entities. It was only done by the government, monopoly of the government. So here it may add the private sectors also to come in. And the civil liabilities is mainly for foreign investments. So foreign investments, so that they are given a free hand again to invest in India, because earlier we saw a higher liability was set for these foreign entities, so nobody wanted to come into India. But there's only one foreign entity that has developed in India, and that is Rosatom, which is Russia. So Russia is the only country that has been operating a nuclear power plant in India. Can you quickly tell me the name of the nuclear power plant that India has been, developing with Russia? Quickly write in the name of the nuclear power plant that India has been developing or operating with Russia. Yes, what's your answer? Very well. Yes, Viraj, Eklavya, very good. The answer is Kudankulam. And where is Kudankulam located? Kudankulam nuclear plant, where is it located? Yes, it is located in Tamil Nadu. Okay, so we're going to also see different other nuclear reactors, okay, power stations where they are. Yes, so starting with the Rajasthan Atomic Power Station in Rajasthan, we have in Maharashtra, we have the, in Gujarat, we have the Kakrapar. In Maharashtra, we have the Tarapur Atomic Station. Karnataka, we have the Kaiga Power Station. Okay, and then we have the Kudankulam Nuclear Power Plant, as I said, Tamil Nadu. Madras Atomic Power Station in Tamil Nadu again. And the Narora Atomic Power Station in Uttar Pradesh. Okay, so quickly have a note down. They can give you a match the following. Okay, so here you can be asked these questions even in ELIT. So quickly take a note of the same. Yes. Proceeding to small modular reactors now. What are small modular reactors? Now this is 1/3 of the traditional or the conventional nuclear power plants. So conventional nuclear power plants have an output of 1000 megawatt electric, whereas 1/3 of them, that is 300 megawatt electric, or a minimum of at least 30 megawatt electric. Okay, so minimum, maximum. That is a small modular reactor. So it produces large amount of low carbon electricity. Why we call it small is because I told you the size is smaller, 1/3 of a conventional one. Modular because it is possible for systems, okay, components to be assembled again. And we see the reactor because again we talk about nuclear fission that does happen. Currently, globally, how many operational small modular reactors are there? Currently, there are only 2. Okay, which are the 2 countries? That is Russia and China. So the name Russia has the academic Lomonosov, which is the world's floating nuclear power plant. Okay, world's floating nuclear power plant. And if you talk about China, it is the HTRPM. So there are only 2 nuclear reactors that are currently operational with regard to the small modular reactors. India is developing. Okay, so we're going to see which is India developing and so on. But before, just a quick read through. If they ask you about the large one, it is more than 1000, more than 700. Small is up to 300. And when we talk about the micro reactors, it is less than 10 megawatt electric. Okay, yes. Quickly, let us also see with regard to India's small modular reactors that India is developing. So it is developed by the Baba Atomic Research Station or Research Center under the Department of Atomic Energy along with the NPCIL. Okay, so we also have the National Power Corporation of India Limited. Here we see there are 3 types of reactors that we are making. The first one is Bharat Small Modular Reactor. The second one is just Bharat Small Reactor. And the third one is Small Modular Reactors. Okay, Bharat word is missing here. So you have to remember the name and the output. So for Bharat Small Modular Reactors, the full name BSMR. Okay, so that has 200 megawatt and it has a lightweight reactor. Okay, when it is BSR, then it is 220 megawatt. Okay, and if it is SMR, it is 55 megawatt. You have to remember this. Okay, as well as what is the reactor type. So for Bharat Small, it's lightweight. For Bharat Small Reactor, it is pressurized heavy water reactor, and for small modular reactor, it is light water reactors. Now the difference between the two I'll be explaining. Also remember that India, okay, what does India have? Currently we operate mainly in the pressurized heavy water reactors. Okay, so majority of the units are pressurized heavy water reactors, unlike the one which Russia is building, as I said, Kudankulam, right? That is a light water reactor. That one is a light water reactor, but most of them are pressurized heavy water reactor. Now quickly let us see also the difference between the two. When you talk about the pressurized water reactor and pressurized heavy water reactors, we are using light water for this case, as the name suggests, and for heavy water we are using heavy water mainly where the isotopes of hydrogen, okay, so the isotope, the D2O it's called. Now here if you talk about the operating pressure is higher as compared to the pressurized heavy water where it is a little moderate. Okay, the efficiency is also higher in this particular case, whereas here it's lesser than so. Now, why is the efficiency more? It's because here you're using enriched uranium. Okay, you're using enriched uranium, whereas here you're using natural uranium. So therefore, the efficiency is more here. But apart from using enriched, because this is again you have an additional step, therefore the cost will be higher of this case. So the cost is higher. In this case, the cost is lower. Okay, so in case of, as I said, the Kudankulam one, okay, the BSMR and the Kudankulam, the light water reactors is what we are using, this one. Russia, okay, costly, heavy, okay, so that's why it's using this one. But if at all the other reactors that we have like Kakrapar and the Tarapur one, we are using the heavy water reactors. Is that clear? Now we will see why it was in the news recently, because private sectors, okay, private sector are now being invited to again come into the sector. So which are the private sectors? 6 private firms have been invited. So here we see Reliance, Tata Power, okay, that's Adani Power. Then we have Hindalco, JSW and Jindal Steel and Power. So these are the ones that have invited. There have been 16 sites that have been selected, mainly in Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, okay, Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh and so on. And here it is said that it will be working under the NPCIL supervision only. Remember, operational control will still be with NPCIL. Then what will these private entities get? The private entities will get the right over electricity. Okay, they will get the right over the electrical output. So this is with regard to the SMR. Let's now proceed to the next article. The next article that we talk about is with regard to cloud seeding. Okay, so we're going to see what are the different topics or why was it in the news. Cloud seeding was in the news because of the recent experiment that was taken up by Delhi government. And along with Delhi, can you tell me which is the IIT institute that helped them in this? What was the name of the IIT institute that helped them in this experiment? Yes, your answers quickly. Very well. Yes, that's right. Kanpur. Okay. Yes. So very good. I see the same answer. Same people are answering. Okay. What about the rest? Okay. Okay. Got it. So who is the father of cloud seeding, or who is responsible for creating this? This is Vincent J. Schaeffer. He's an American chemist and meteorologist who started or invented cloud seeding in the year 1946. The first country to do that is US itself. And what exactly is it? It is mainly a weather technique, okay, to increase precipitation, to create snowfall or rainfall. Now, how does this work? It is because you're going to put some chemical in the air with the help of a helicopter or a plane. Right? So here, what kind of chemical are you using? It could be silver iodide, potassium iodide, sodium chloride, or dry ice. Okay, with the help of an aircraft, this will condense. So you require, there's a requirement that you have to have hygroscopic or warm clouds present. It cannot create clouds for you. So whatever clouds are there, you add these chemicals, they will condense, and when they become heavy, when they carry moisture, they will trickle down in the form of precipitation. So remember, they cannot create clouds for you. Okay, and it will only be effective if and only there are warm clouds already present or hygroscopic clouds that are set. Now, this particular experiment taken up by Delhi plus IIT Kanpur was a failure. Okay, it did not do much because there were no clouds. Okay, so that was the limitation of this particular thing. So here again, cloud seeding, for the ones that have not understood, here you have the aircraft which injects silver iodide, potassium iodide and so on into the atmosphere. Then the chemicals will mimic the particles, okay, similarly condense and will create water droplets, and soon once the condensation creates, they will be large enough and they will fall down. So rain will fall. Now let's understand, have we done cloud seeding in India before? Yes, we have. The first time, in fact, we did it in Kolkata. Okay. Apart from that, we've seen the number of experiments that we have taken, like the CAPEX. Now, the CAPEX, the experiment, that itself was started by IITM, okay, which is the Indian Institute of Tropical Management Meteorology, which is in Pune. Okay, so they started between 2009 to 2019, where they studied about this. Okay, they studied about cloud physics. They studied about how, in what conditions can you use cloud seeding. So we use this in states like Maharashtra, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. So you'll find this in many coastal cities for drought relief. We also see that it was in the news, okay, a few months ago, because Rajasthan also launched the first ever drone-based cloud seeding experiment. Okay, so this was another experiment, and they did it to revive which particular lake? The Ramgarh Lake. So this is important information you have to remember. Other countries also use it, like China used it for weather control during the Olympics, the Beijing Olympics of 2008. We also see UAE, Saudi Arabia, because you know the desert regions, to have rainfall, they always do this. Okay, so for them it's a normal experiment, because this is a costly affair, right? You're taking helicopter, you're using this. So this is why it is used sparsely in many other countries. But here they have the money and they want to ensure that the rainfall is there, adequate is there, so they do it. So the applications of this that we see is rainfall, especially in drought-prone regions. Even with regard to Delhi, why did Delhi do it? Because pollution increased mainly because of the stubble burning, especially in the months, in these months, okay, after the season that we talk about in Punjab and Haryana, the cropping season. We see the stubble burning that happens, and therefore it also creates a lot of smoke in the NCR region. We also see because of the crackers, okay, during Diwali season, the industrial emissions, the vehicular emissions, that creates a lot of pollution. Now to to get the pollution levels down, they decided to have done this particular experiment. However, it was a total failure. So remember, they wanted to reduce the air pollution, but it is said that it does it only temporarily. It is not like a permanent solution. So they, after a few months or after a few days, again the pollution level may rise. Okay. So that was another case. Again, if you want to disperse the fog that is there, that's why they do it. And for suppressing hailstones and to support agriculture for rainfall, this is why you do cloud seeding. All right. So let's now quickly move on to the next topic. Okay. So this topic, again, I was not able to cover it last time, so that's why I'm doing it in this particular season, which is the Prime Minister's international visits. Any questions? Yes. Okay. So we probably see international visits with regard to 5 countries that PM Modi did. So that's why this is important. Plus, a lot of questions can come from this with regard to each country itself. So what are the 5 countries that we visited? That's Ghana, Trinidad, Tobago, Argentina, Brazil, and Namibia. Okay. So these are the 5 countries that we visited. We're also going to see about each of these countries, about the leaders, and so on. So starting with the first one, visit was Ghana. This is on the west coast of Africa. We see that it was the first bilateral visit of PM Modi and the first one to be done by a prime minister. We also see that Ghana's largest export destination is India itself. 70% of Indian imports, okay, are mainly gold. Apart from that, who is the Ghana president? It is John Mahama, and the capital is Accra. The currency of Ghana is Cedi. Okay. Let's move on to the next article, next country that PM Modi visited, which is Trinidad and Tobago. Okay. Here we see, okay, Argentina, Brazil, yes, we see, but how many cited? Jerry, I'm not able to get your question. How many part it is decided? 500 gigawatt renewable energy by 2030. Okay. All right. You can still, if you've not understood some part, you can do comment on the video itself. Proceeding to Trinidad and Tobago. Remember, what is the capital of Trinidad and Tobago? It is the port of Spain, and we see that it is one of the largest Indian diaspora is where we have, because a number of indentured laborers were taken to work there. So we'll find a lot of ancestors there itself. Okay, and we also see the president here, who is Christine Carla Kangalu. She was also the chief guest for the Pravasi Bharatiya Divas that happens on 9th January for the Indian diaspora. Okay, the NRI Day. The Prime Minister is Kamala Persad Bisesar, okay, and they themselves are from Indian origin, right? So we discussed about the currency is the Trinidad and Tobago dollar itself, so that is nothing different here. Proceeding to understand the next one, that's Argentina. Buenos Aires, right? So here we see the first prime minister's visit in 57 years. Who is the current president there? It is Javier Milei. Okay, India was Argentina's 5th largest trading partner. And what is the capital? What is the currency that we have in Argentina? Peso. Okay, this is the currency that we have here. So again, India, Argentina have ties mainly for lithium production. So remember, ABC, Argentina, you can say Bolivia and Chile. Okay, these are the countries that are known for lithium production. Okay, and also for green energy transition, they can help us with regard to this lithium supply. Proceeding to Brazil now. Brazil, again, the leader is Luiz. Okay, so the full name is here. It's Lula da Silva. So Luiz Lenza Lula da Silva. Okay, and here we see it's the largest trading partner. We also see the Prime Minister went for the Rio de Janeiro, the summit that happened in Rio de Janeiro, which is the BRICS summit. Okay, this was taking place in Brazil itself. We see that Brazil, the capital, Brasilia. Okay, and what is the currency of Brazil? Quickly write that in the comment section. The currency of Brazil, quickly write that in the comment section. Okay, that is your work. Yes. No, 500 gigawatt is 2030. Okay, 500 renewable energy is 2030. Nuclear is 100 only. That is 2047. Yes, we're going to see the awards in a little while, Yashvi. Yes, we're going to see the awards as well. Proceeding to Namibia. Namibia, who is the president here? It is Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah. Okay, the first female president that Namibia gets. Why is Namibia in the news recently? Also because they have gifted us, or they have given us cheetahs. Okay, so cheetahs were translocated from this particular region, Namibia. Yes. Very well. I see answers coming in quickly. Yes, Jitesh, Dev, that's an absolutely right answer. Real. Okay, real is the currency for Brazil. Okay, Namibia, what is the capital? The capital is Windhoek. And quickly again, tell me what is the currency for Namibia? Yes, Brazilian real is correct. And what is the currency for Namibia? Quickly tell me. Yes. Okay, apart from that, it's the first international translocation of major carnivore that we see. That is why this has been in news. Yes. Okay, now we will also see Cyprus, India-Cyprus ties. So here it was India-Cyprus ties. We see India has also supported, Cyprus has supported India's permanent membership in the UNSC with regard to Kashmir issue. So we've always had good ties with this country, and we also want to increase the ties, especially when it is going to assume the presidency in 2026 with regard to the EU Council. So that is where Cyprus is going to help us increase our ties with the European region. Right now, let's understand about Cyprus, where exactly Cyprus is located. So Cyprus is somewhere here, okay, in the Mediterranean Sea. You will find, let me just move it a little this side. Okay, this particular region is where Cyprus lies, and Cyprus is like the third largest island. So which is the largest island in the Mediterranean Ocean or Mediterranean Sea? The answer is Sicily and Sardinia. Yeah. Now, the capital here of Cyprus is Nicosia, and the president is Nikos Christodoulidis. Okay, so remember the name of the president and the capital, almost similar, Nicosia, Nikos. So that's how you can remember it. Okay, apart from that, we talk about it's geographically closer to West Asia, but it is part of Europe. Okay, so it's part of the European Council that we talk about. Highest point is Mount Olympus, and here we see that it has been independent, and which colonial power ruled there? It was British. Okay, so it was divided since 1974 Turkish invasion. So there's some part that is mainly Turkish and some part which is mainly speaks the language of Greek. Okay, so that is how this particular region. So they have like a division there with regard to Turkey. In Cyprus, we have like a little Turkish dominance in this particular region. So it has been a member of the European Union since 2004. Now let us also see the various awards that are given, the number of civilian awards that are given to the Prime Minister by these many countries. So I've quickly noted it down for you. Have a quick look, have a quick see through. What are the names? You can note it down, you can take a screenshot, but this is important. This is important from ALIT and from other SLAT exams and other exams that you're also appearing for. So Mauritius, we have where Prime Minister attended the National Mauritius Day, their Independence Day that we say. It happened on 12th March. Okay, so we were the chief guest for their day, and the award that we received was the Grand Commander of the Order of the Star. Okay, apart from that, Barbados, we received the Freedom of Barbados Award from Prime Minister received it. Then we have Sri Lanka, which is called as the Mitra Vibhushan Award. Okay, this is the highest award for a foreign head of state. Following, we have Cyprus. Cyprus is Grand Cross of the Order Markios III. Again, this is important because these are the names you can't figure out, which leader must have, which country must have given. So when it is Markios III, you will wonder which is that country. So similarly, Ghana, this is easy, Star of Ghana. Trinidad and Tobago gives the Order of Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Again, easy. Brazil is important because here it is National Order of the Southern Cross. Again question, you won't know what is Southern Cross here. So remember, this kind of awards you need to be a little more careful, like Mitra Vibhushan, Cyprus, Brazil, okay, and Namibia also, because Namibia, what award did he receive? Most Ancient Welwitschia Mirabilis. Okay, this is again the highest civilian award that was received. Proceeding to now reports and indices. Now this is the last part that I'm going to be covering. After that, we will have our next professor, next faculty, that is Kuldeep sir, is also going to come and discuss with you some new important topics, right? So let's quickly have a quick jot down of all these reports and indices from the exam point of view. Very important. Okay, so let's have a revision then, starting with the Global Gender Gap Report. Okay, so Global Gender Gap Report, remember, this is the 19th such edition. Now, who gives this particular report? This is given by the World Economic Forum. Okay, now 4 factors are important: economic participation opportunity, educational attainment, health and survival, and political empowerment. So they are seeing what is the gap between men and women. Okay, and within which factors? 4 factors: economic, health, political, and education. Now, which is India's rank? What is India's rank? India's rank is 131, 148 countries. Top rank is Iceland, always been in the top for many years, and the bottom rank is Pakistan. So in this report, you should remember this because Pakistan is bottom, okay, and India is still on top, but not that good also, 131. Okay, so this is something that we have to remember. Proceeding to World Economic Forum, we've also seen this particular body. It was created in 1971 by Klaus Schwab. It has its headquarters in Cologne, Geneva, Switzerland, and this is an international organization that deals with also public-private partnership. It has its annual summit that's called as the Davos Agenda. It happens in the month of January every year. Let's now also proceed to the next article, the happiness report. So let's see which is the most happiest country. Here the report is published by Wellbeing Research Center at the University of Oxford. It also does it with the partnership of Gallup and the United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions, UNSDSM. We also see the happiness score. How do you determine happiness? The income, okay, so when you talk about money, right, money keeps you happy, so GDP per capita. We also talk not only about for the income side, but also with regard to life, health. You'll be happy if you don't have any diseases, all right? So healthy life, your support, your family, your friends, so support and social support. Then you talk about your freedom, your generosity, and the perception that is your government corrupt or not, right? So perception of corruption. So all this matters when you talk about happiness score. It's not only happiness of a country can be determined only because of the wealth. So there are a number of things that shape into it. The Happiness Day is celebrated on 20th March. And here the happiest country is Finland, and the most sad country that we see is Afghanistan. Okay, so another neighbor of India that you can remember. So here India's rank has been 118th. Okay, 118th is India's rank this time. Let's now proceed to the next article, which is Human Development Report. And what has been the title? The title of the report was A Matter of Choice, People and Possibilities in the Age of AI. So new introduction of AI has been, so that's why this is important. Who gives this report? It is released by the United Nations Development, which is UNDP. Okay, top rank is given to Iceland. Okay, so another report by Iceland is top rank. The earlier report we saw, Global Gender Gap report by the World Economic Forum, they're also top rank. Human Development we also top rank. Okay, now bottom rank is South Sudan in this particular case, and India is 133. Okay, so this again is something you have to remember. Mug this up. Okay, so some of you I must have discussed with you already, but I'm sure you may not recall this again. So take this as a revision. Okay, take this as a revision for you, because this is important. Okay, this is where we get most confused. Even though we should have remembered it in the exam, it so happens that we forget it. So take this as a revision, and I'm sure you'll be able to mark the correct answer. Proceeding to World Air Quality Report. So this is released by the Swiss company IQ Air, and they talk about pollutants. Okay, now what kind of pollutants we're talking about? We're talking about 2.5 levels. Okay, PM, that's particulate matter, 2.5. So the most polluted country that we talk about is Chad. The other countries are Bangladesh, Pakistan, Congo. And if you talk about the country which is India, is the 5th most polluted. So India's rank is 5. Okay, so Chad is first, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Congo, and the 5th is India. And the most polluted capital is Delhi, whereas the most polluted city, that itself is in India, which is Birnihat in the Assam-Meghalaya border. Okay, proceeding to the next one, World Press Freedom Index. Yes, quickly let's also revise this one. This is given by Reporters Without Borders. It's also called as Reporters Sans Frontières, RSF, which is, as I said, it's a French word, right? So French, the headquarters is in Paris itself. Now this has been mainly assessing the freedom of journalists to work. Okay, so how is the freedom of these journalists to work freely? And they have 5 factors: political context, economic context, legislative framework. We talk about security of them. Okay, so all this is mainly looked after in this particular World Press Freedom Index. So now the top performer here is Norway, and the bottom performing country is Eritrea. Okay, now this is something different names. So remember that Norway and Eritrea, top and bottom. India has improved, okay, but mainly because many other countries are also involved now. And here our rank is 159. Okay, so we are 159. So this is important. Again, the Press Freedom Index is given, Freedom Day is 3rd May. And we also see the award that is given to the Press Freedom Prize, which is called as UNESCO Guillermo Cano World Press Freedom Award. Remember this award because it is given to whom? It is given to a Nicaraguan newspaper, which is La Prensa. So they can ask you in awards, what is the award? Who is it given to? Okay, proceeding to the next one, Corruption Perception Index. Now this has been published since the year 1995 by the NGO called as Transparency International. Now, why do we have this index? Because they want to see the perception levels of what people think about their government, how corrupt your government is. Okay, so if at all they get 0, that means it's useless. Okay, 0 means highly corrupt. 100 means clean. Okay, so no corruption. So where the score is 100, or you can say very good, the answer is Denmark. Whereas the most corrupt country that we talk about is South Sudan. Okay, and India's rank is 96. So this is something that you have to remember. Proceeding to the next one, Sustainable Development Report. Okay, so this is again published by United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network, UNSDSN. Okay, which talks about how well you're doing in sustainable development goals. Total goals is 17. Quickly tell me, when were these goals introduced? When were the goals introduced? In which summit? Quickly tell your answer in the comment section. Quickly, come on. Okay, yes, it was first proposed in 2012, but they were adopted, yes, in 2015. Yes. Okay, all right. So 2012 was Rio plus 20. This was a summit, and 2015, this summit was in New York. Okay. Yes, very well. We also see that these are not legally binding. Okay, here we see that every country tries to do it their best. Okay, all countries have to do it, and it came into force since 1st January 2016. The top performers are Finland. Finland is at the top. Okay, and bottom rank we see is South Sudan. Remember this. And India's rank, quickly write down India's rank. We've also seen India's rank. Remember, 19 out of 20 countries are from Europe itself, so they are doing very good in this case. India's rank is 99. Our score is 67 points. Okay, but remember, 99 is a score. Very well. I see you all are adding the answers in the comments. And here we're going to proceed to the last article that we're going to see from my end, which is the SIPRI report. Okay, SIPRI report is Stockholm International Peace Research Institute. This is the largest arms importer that we see, which is Ukraine, and the largest arms export. Which country exports the most number of equipments, defense equipments? It's USA. What is India's rank? India ranks second in case of import. That means we take major defense imports from other countries. We see Ukraine, in fact, kind of top the list because of their recent Russia-Ukraine war conflict, and China has dropped. Okay, so dropped from import, probably because it's making its own defense equipments. And we take maximum of our imports from which country? We take it from Russia. Okay, we take it from Russia, but globally Russia's exports have declined. Okay, military spending also, if we talk about, India ranks 5th in the world for its military spending. Okay, now India's rank, if we talk about, it's the second largest arms importer. India's top importer is Russia, followed by France, and then we have USA. So remain the largest importer for India, and China as well as Kazakhstan. France, okay, if you talk about France, they try to give the maximum to India, but still India, if you talk about ranking, India takes the second largest from France. So we have had many contracts. We have the Scorpion class, we have submarines. In fact, the largest ship that we have taken from Russia, do you know the name of the ship that we have taken Russia from? The last ship that we have taken from Russia. After that, we decided we'll make our own ships. What is the name of that ship? Yes. Quickly, your answer? Tamal. Okay, so this is the last ship that we talk about. So here we see other countries. If you talk about Qatar, second largest recipient, of course not important for us that much, but remember India takes maximum from Russia. And SIPRI, okay, when you talk about SIPRI, what is SIPRI? Where is it located? As the name suggests, Stockholm International. So yes, it is located in Stockholm itself, 1966, and provides data, analysis, recommendations, mainly with regard to the defense imports and exports. So that is all with regard to this part. We will now proceed a 2-minute break, and we're going to quickly start with the next session with regard to GK Marathon by Kuldeep sir.
Hello everyone. So I welcome you to GK Marathon Second 2.0. So I'm sure you had a very energetic and informative session with Jessina ma'am, and she has covered a lot of important topics, or the most important topics of the series, which are going to be very important for your Clat examination. So I'm going to carry forward what from where she left, and I'm going to cover the topics which we think are important for you from the months of September, October, November. At the same time, if you were with us in the GK Marathon 1.0, you must remember that there were certain topics which were left out. So those topics will be covered in the end. Okay, some topics I'm going to cover which are very important. I'm going to start with those topics which are from the months of August and July and August only, and then I'll straightforward move to the more important topics from the months of September, October, and November. What else I expect from you is that I have this comment box open in front of me. So if you have any question, you can simply type it there and I'll try to answer them then and there. Okay, so let's start with our particular GK Marathon 2.0 part 2. Okay, and the first thing which I'm going to start, I know most of you are already aware of this, most of you might be even fed up of this topic. I took this particular topic in my morning class also today, but still this is an important topic. For those who have not covered this before, please make specific notes out of this, because this is one of the definite topic which can be asked in your exam. Okay, so let's start with the details of this particular Trump's plan. Okay, so one thing which you need to remember is that finally there is some particular headway into the Israel-Gaza conflict. Before I start with the Trump 20-point plan, let's do the basic. As you can see here, this is the map of Israel. This territory in light blue color, it is basically the territory of Israel. The sites which you see in orange color, specifically this West Bank site and Gaza Strip, these two are the sites which together constitute the Palestine. Okay, so what is Palestine, or what is Palestinian territory? So it is your Gaza Strip and your West Bank. Apart from this, there is another territory in orange. However, it is not part of Palestine. It is part of Israel now. So it is in Israel occupation. But what territory it is? It is Golan Heights. Okay, the territory is called as Golan Heights because this is a mountainous region, and before the 1967-60 war, it was earlier part of Syria, but now it is part of Israel. It is under Israel occupation. Okay, so what we are talking about is the Trump's 20-point Gaza peace plan. So this is related to this particular area. Okay, so now Gaza war, which was started in October 7, 2023, wherein around 1,000 Israelis were basically massacred by the Hamas militants, and around 250 plus were also taken as hostages. And now the current situation is that only 20 hostages are said to be alive. Okay, and for that particular purpose, when Israel launched a counter offensive, it has killed, till our last count, around 66,000 Palestinian people. Okay, and now there is a lot of hue and cry how to find a humanitarian solution to this humanitarian crisis. Okay, and now a particular important development is that both Hamas and Israel has agreed to Trump's proposal. Okay, not Hamas has not exactly agreed to the full proposal, but at least phase one of this particular proposal has been accepted by Hamas also. Okay, so let's look at what was the proposal, what are the phases in which that proposal is to be implemented, and what part of the proposal Hamas has also agreed to, and what part was actually announced but has not been accepted by Hamas. Okay, so let me start with this particular topic then. Okay, so let's look at the pointers. Okay, so one thing you need to remember is that this particular Trump's 20-point Gaza peace plan is in two phases. There is phase 1 and there is phase 2. The phase 1 has been in the implementation phase right now. However, it is a phase 2 which would be difficult to implement because Hamas has not agreed to it, and it was Trump who had declared an early victory. And possibly this is going to be a fallout between, this is going to become one of the reason for fallout between Israel and Hamas also. Okay, so as you can see, this is the map of Gaza. Currently your Israeli forces are occupying this particular region. So all of the area beyond the this dark blue line is in control of Israeli forces. So only this much part is basically this part is basically the part where your Hamas or your Palestinian people are currently located. Okay, and now what is the first phase? So first phase requirement is that there is a requirement of immediate ceasefire, and there has to be a withdrawal by both Israel and Hamas forces. Okay, so as you can see, the first point is what? Both Israel and Hamas must agree to an immediate ceasefire. Okay, and then Israeli forces withdraw in phases as security condition improve. So as and when the conditions improve, if the Hamas decides to basically lay down their arms, then the Israeli forces in a phased manner would start moving outside. So currently they are at this blue line. In the first phase, if this when this phase 1 was beginning to be implemented, the Israeli forces have already moved to the yellow part. Okay, so currently when the phase 1 is being implemented, they are not at this blue line perimeter, but they are at the yellow line perimeter. As and when the first phase is completed, whenever the phase 1 of this particular plan is completed, they are going to move to this particular red line area. Okay, and finally when this whole 20-point plan would get implemented, they would simply leave this particular Gaza Strip. Okay, so only when the 20-point plan is completed, then only Israeli forces are going to withdraw fully from Gaza. However, as you can see that there is this particular region which is basically shaded which is in the shaded part. This is going to be one of the perimeter. This is going to be a security perimeter which is going to be guarded by the Israeli forces. Okay, so this particular withdrawal of Israeli forces is going to take place in a phased manner. Okay, so this is the first part. Battle lines to remain frozen until withdrawn milestones are met. So this is going to be the battle line unless the particular situation is normalized. Okay, now the very important part or the basis on which this phase 1 has been decided is basically the hostage prisoner exchange plan. Okay, and what this particular plan is, that Donald Trump has given a particular ultimatum to Hamas of 72 hours. So as and when this particular plan was announced, Donald Trump was very clear that Hamas is 72 hours, and in the next 72 hours, this is what Israelis as well as the Hamas has to do. One thing which Hamas has to do under the phase 1 is that within 72 hours Hamas must release all hostages. So whatever hostages are there, even if they are alive or even if they are dead, in that particular case, all the hostages which are with Hamas, they have to be released within the next 72 hours. Okay, so that is the first part of this particular plan. What Israel has to do in exchange? So as and when Hamas releases all the hostages, Israel in exchange is going to free 250 life sentence prisoners or Gazans. Okay, so the Gazans who have been life imprisoned, who have been sentenced to life imprisonment by the Israeli courts, 250 of those would be freed by the Israeli forces. And apart from it, 1700 Gazans who have been detained since October 7, they would also be freed now. Okay, so this is what Hamas has to do, and in exchange, this is what Israel has to do. Okay, now what about the dead bodies? So there is a specific exchange ratio also being decided for this. So for every hostage, for releasing every hostage remain for Israel is going to release 15 Gazan dead bodies also. Okay, so there is a particular mechanism to release the living hostages, and what is going to be the exchange ratio there, and there is a exchange ratio for exchanging your dead bodies of Gazan citizens which are in Israeli custody, and also exchanging the dead bodies of the Hamas hostages also. Okay, so this becomes the very important part of this particular plan. Now moving on, what about phase 2? So this phase 1 is the one which Hamas actually agreed to. However, these were also part of the 20-point plan, but the bad news is Hamas never agreed to it, and Trump, by claiming that Hamas has agreed to this particular plan, can lead to problems in implementing this particular part. Okay, anyway, we are supposed to know what exactly are the pointers in your phase 2 of this particular program. So as per phase 2, in the disarmament and mastery for Hamas part, Hamas is supposed to surrender all its weapons and dismantle tunnels and military infrastructure, which basically means Hamas has to give up their arms, Hamas has to stop their particular movement, and then only phase 2 can initiate. And it's a very big promise to be made. Okay, apart from it, what they are going to get in exchange if they stop fighting, then what is the benefit which they are going to get? So it has been committed in this particular plan or phase 2 that members who are committing to peace, members who agree to this particular peaceful resolution, they are going to get amnesty, which simply means that they would be pardoned. Okay, but what about those who are not agreeing to laying down their arms? So in this particular case, there is a second plan for them, and the plan is that they would be given safe passages to these particular countries like Egypt, Jordan, Qatar, or Iran, obviously provided that these countries also accept these particular people. Okay, so this is the second part of this particular phase. Okay, moving on. So what about the future security dynamics of this particular phase? So for this particular purpose, a particular force known as ISF, International Stabilization Force, is going to be created. This particular temporary multinational force is going to be led by the US only. So US is going to lead this particular force. So it's going to give men and material, both men, material, and money also. 3 M's are going to be provided by US, and also Arab partners are going to participate into it. So this temporary multinational force is going to be led by US, and Arab partners like specifically your Jordan and Egypt, who have agreed to provide forces, are going to be leading or are going to be part of this ISF. Apart from this, Pakistan has also offered its military for this specific purpose also. Okay, but what you need to know is you need to know these two particular partners. Okay, and what this particular ISF is going to do is it is going to make sure or is going to maintain internal security in Gaza. It will try or it will train the Palestinian police force, and it will try to prevent arms smuggling in future so that no other terrorist group is created in the Gazan or the West Bank territory. Okay, now Israel retains a security perimeter until Gaza is fully stable. So if you remember this particular, the shaded area, this is going to be the security perimeter which Israel is going to retain even after this ISF is in place inside Gazan territory. Okay, what about once we are done with phase 1 and phase 2 exactly? So the next step of this particular 20-point plan is going to be the day after plan, which basically refers to the transitional government. So what has been proposed is not democracy or not a democratic government, but a technocratic apolitical Palestinian committee is going to be created. Okay, so again, this particular territory of Gaza is not going to be a democratic country, but it is going to be a territory being governed by a technocratic apolitical Palestinian committee. So what do you mean by apolitical? Which simply means that there is not going to be any elected representative in this particular government. And what do you mean by technocratic? Technocratic simply means that this is going to be a government led by experts. Okay, so what is the proposal after the plan? What is going to happen once the plan is implemented? A day after, a particular transitional government is going to take over. Okay, moreover, there is a specific body, because wherever Donald Trump go, wherever Donald Trump wants to get involved, it wants to place his name in that particular area. So even if we look at Azerbaijan and Armenia issue, there also he has announced a particular route known as strip only, and there also he has used his particular name. Here also he has decided to create a board of peace. So name is really good, board of peace. It is going to be chaired by whom? By Donald Trump, who claims that he has stopped at least 8 wars in this particular year itself, in just the 6 years of his presidency. Okay, so chaired by Trump, and it would have members like Tony Blair, who is a former Prime Minister of Britain. Okay, and once this particular transitional government settles down, it basically implements its plan. In future, it is possible the Palestinian Authority would regain control after the reforms. Okay, so what has been offered is in the initial days, a transitional government is going to take over. Once whatever plans they have, whatever reforms they have decided to do in Gaza and your West Bank also, then it is going to be given to the Palestinian Authority, which is the governing authority in West Bank. So the governance of Gazan territory would be given to the Palestinian Authority as and when this transitional government completes its particular reforms. Okay, so this is going to be the next phase. Let's move to the next part. What about the regional and your global support? What about this regional and global support? So this particular plan has already got support of the majority of Muslim countries, or countries which are very important in the Muslim world. So all the major countries like Saudi Arabia, UAE, Egypt, Jordan, Qatar, Turkey, and Indonesia and Pakistan, these are the countries who have already given their support, who have shown their support for this particular plan of Trump's. Okay, however, which one country you need to focus upon is, and which is not here, is your country of Iran. Okay, so Iran is one country which is a very important stakeholder of this particular plan, or this particular Israel-Gaza conflict. It has not supported this particular plan. Okay, apart from it, one thing which you would find missing is that Hamas is another country which is not agreed to this particular plan also. So they've agreed to phase one of it, but they have not agreed to the whole plan of it. So that is also an important point. Apart from it, China and Russia, and also we'll discuss this in detail just now, that India has also supported this plan. So all the major powers currently, like China, Russia and India, have also supported Donald Trump this particular plan. And what Donald Trump has warned Hamas is that if Hamas rejects it, then it will back Israel to finish the job, to basically flatten out whole of Gaza and kill all the people which are there, because I believe that is the possible plan of Israel right now. Okay, anyway, so it has certain regional and global support also. And what is expected out of this particular plan, that in future this would lead to a Palestinian state also. So your UN had supported a particular had supported a two-state solution since 1947. It has been supported by the global community also. India is also one of the supporter of the not two nation but two-state solution. And now it is believed that if this particular plan is successfully implemented, in future it can lead to a particular Palestinian state also. Okay, and now finally, what is India's position with regard to Palestine in general, and also this particular Trump plan also? So India has had a positive response to this. India also supported it. Your Prime Minister Modi was also invited by Egypt for Sharm el Sheikh summit, but because it was a last minute invite, Indian government decided to not, or Prime Minister Modi decided to not go and attend that particular meeting. However, we sent one of our representatives to Minister of State of External Affairs, your Kirtivardan Singh, has represented India in the Sharm el Sheikh summit, which is basically taking place in Egypt to implement this particular plan. Okay, now what is the historical stance of India? So India has always been supportive of the Palestinian cause. It is one of the country which also respects Israel's sovereignty, but at the same time it has been standing with the Palestinian people with regard to their demand of statehood. So if you remember that India recognized Israel in 1950 itself. However, we developed our diplomatic relations only in 1992. But if I talk about Palestine, India was one of the first, or was the first non-Arab country to recognize Palestine also in 1988 itself, when your Palestine Liberation Organization recognized Palestine state. Okay, so India has a long association with both Israel as well as Palestine. Okay, now why is India involved in that particular reason is, so we have these 3-4 reasons. First is energy dependency of India. So Middle East is that particular region which still accounts for around 80% of our energy security needs. So stability in Middle East is directly related to our own interest, specifically our economic interest. Apart from it, we have a large diaspora which is currently now working in the Middle East, including in Israel as well as the other countries also. So again, stability is going to be beneficial for us. And moreover, we are also trying to create an economic corridor known as India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, and both Israel as well as the larger Middle East region is important. Its stability is important for success of this particular IMAC plan also. Okay, so students, this is the first important topic. In case you have not done this before, please make specific notes out of it, because I believe this is one of the most important topic which have to be covered for this year's exam. And I would really appreciate if you make notes out of this particular thing. Okay, so let's move to the next topic now. Okay, and now the agenda for today is to cover as many topics as we can in the next 1 hour also. Okay, but let me check your comment box if there is any comment. Okay, so I hope this was clear to all. So let's move ahead. Okay. Okay, let's look at the next topic. So what I've done is I have basically co-joined the topic of IMAC because it is the last thing which we studied in the first topic. So what exactly is IMAC? So IMAC is a economic corridor, which is a ambitious project suggested by India, and it has got support of your Middle Eastern countries as well as some Western countries. And why this IMAC is important? Because IMAC is going to be provide a secondary route to your or is going to give us a secondary access to the European markets, and not just the European market, all of your Middle East is going to get benefit, or India is going to get access to the Middle Eastern countries also through this particular IMAC corridor. Currently, one problem which we face is that currently most of the trade which happens with the European countries of India as well as of the Southeast Asian countries, all of it takes place through the Suez Canal route, and which has become a very busy route, and it has become some politically sensitive, as well as it has become too much involved in geopolitics. So there is always a requirement of having a second access route to Europe. Okay, and that's why IMAC can be a game changer for our economic growth. Okay, so that's why India was the country which proposed this particular project when India hosted the G20 summit in the year 2023. So your G20 summit, a summit of all the important economies of the world, which is the G20 summit. The 2023 summit took place in New Delhi. Okay, and it is at this particular summit that India proposed creation of a IMAC, which got support of all the major economies of the world. Okay, so what else you need to know about IMAC? So this IMAC, as you can see, the route of this IMAC is here. However, you have to understand that not necessarily all the route countries, whatever countries fall on the route, are part of IMAC. At the same time, your IMAC partners are not just limited to the route countries. For example, if I talk about the route countries, you can see here India is one country in the route, UAE is one country, Saudi Arabia is there, and Israel is there, and Greece is there. And with time, other countries are also going to become part of this particular route. However, if I look at the participating countries, so participating countries are India, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Israel, European countries like France, Italy, Germany, and many other countries, as well as US is also a participating country of IMAC. Okay, so that's why IMAC become important, because it is not just being supported by the countries which fall on the route of IMAC, but also by countries who do not fall on this particular route. So it is believed that it is a very, very important economic project, not just for India, but for creating a secondary access route between Indian Ocean and your Mediterranean Sea also. Okay, and that's why it has support of so many countries. Sir, how many phases are there in peace plan? So there are 2 phases only. So there is phase 1, phase 2, and after the phases, then we have other pointers like the transitional government, etc. Sir, इस session में 20 points topic full cover हो जाएगा ना? Don't worry, everything is going to get covered. Okay, so these are the participating countries. Okay, so this is it. What you need to know about IMAC. Okay, let's move to the next big problem, which is the obesity problem. One problem lies in front of you. However, our mothers believe that it is a necessary fact. There is nothing wrong about it. Anyway, let's look at what is the new obesity definition. So I'm sure you must have heard of this BMI index, body mass index, or BMI. Okay, now one of the problem with BMI is that BMI, when it was devised for the European population. It was devised for the European population, so it might be best suited for people who have a similar genetic mix, like the European population. But we have to understand that every population is very different at the genetical level. So something which is appropriate for the European population might not be appropriate for an Asian population or an African population. However, the scale which we use for the European population is used all over the world also. And that's why recently dietitians and scientists who are working on this have suggested that rather than just focusing on BMI, we need to look at other parameters or other metrics also to basically find out whether someone is obese or not. And now, in the very popular Lancet journal, so Lancet is the name of a medical journal. It is a very reputed journal, something which all doctors follow and vouch upon that. Yes, you can rely on this particular study. And what it has suggested is that we have to change the definition of obesity. And what it has suggested is, it is suggested that rather than just looking at obesity, rather than just looking at your BMI, we should be considering other factors also. Okay, we should be considering other factors also. I'm trying to find out where I have written those particular. Where I have written those particular factors. Never mind, I think it is not here. Anyway, I'll give you the other part of this. Okay, so what this particular definition says, that rather than just looking at BMI, I should be looking at other factors also. For example, I should be looking at waist circumference also. I should be looking at waist to hip ratio. And apart from these particular parameters, I should be looking at some other parameters also. And if a person is found to be obese in multiple parameters, then only that person should be declared obese. Okay. However, if you are targeting ALET also, then you are supposed to know how exactly your BMI index measure different types of weight categories. Okay, so if I look at BMI, what is the formula of BMI? So BMI is calculated by dividing your weight with your square of the height. Okay, so kilogram meter square is a unit of BMI. Now, what are the different BMI categories? So if you divide your weight with your square of your height, then you would get a specific value, and depending on what value you get, either you would be categorized as an underweight person, as a normal weighted person, as an overweight person, or as an obese person. And what are the different values which are required for this particular categorization? You need to know all of these particular values to basically know whether where you fall in this BMI. Okay, so for this BMI you need to know this. In 2009, we did a specific India-led adjustment, India-specific adjustment. So in case if your BMI was between 23 to 24.9, then you were considered overweight and not as obese. But if your particular weight was, or if your BMI was greater than 25, then you were considered as to be a obese person. Okay, so this is something which you need to know. Okay, now what is the new definition which has been proposed by Lancet? So obesity is now defined as a chronic illness causing organ function alteration, potentially life-threatening. Diagnosis include physical parameters, example height, weight, waist circumference, and organ function. Okay, so what your Lancet has suggested is that rather than just looking at BMI, I should be looking at the different variations of height, weight, what is my waist circumference, and also whether I am getting certain health issues because of this particular my overweight also. What are the symptoms which are going to be used to find out whether I am feeling any kind of health issues or not? Are you feeling breathlessness? Are you suffering from sleep apnea? Are you having a high triglycerides level? Are you feeling chronic fatigue? Do you have joint pains in your particular knees? All of these factors will lead to be classifying you as a obese person. Okay, and moreover, apart from it, there is a definition of preclinical obesity. Preclinical obesity means that it is not exactly obesity. It is something which you can solve at your home also by correcting your diet. And in this particular case, you possibly don't need to visit a particular clinic or a doctor, which simply means that there is still time. If you take proper steps, then you can basically tackle the problem of obesity at home also. So what exactly is the definition? It is excess fat without associated illness requiring prevention and monitoring. Okay, so that is what the goal of this particular definition is. Moving on to the next one. Okay, so I'll be a little quick so that we complete more and more topics. Next is your CAG report has come for the last 10 years. CAG has compiled all the fiscal status of the state, and it has given us certain data points. Okay, so what we have to understand here is that if we compare different states, how different states are doing their expenditure, how much they are earning, and where are they spending their particular expenditure. So if I compare different kinds of state, these are the states which have the worst your debt to GDP ratio. They have the highest debt to GDP ratio, which means a lot of what they are earning is basically being consumed, or is being basically a lot of what they are spending is basically funded through your debt only. So for example, Punjab has a very high debt to GDP ratio. So GDP is the total size of the economy, and how much is constituted into debt. Debt is Punjab has around 40.35% of their debt. Second is Nagaland, which has around 37% of their GDP is in debt. 33% of West Bengal GDP is in debt. Okay, so these are the country are the worst performer. They have the worst fiscal status. Okay, on the other side are your lowest states with lowest debt to GDP ratio, which means they are performing really well. At first position is Odisha, then you have Maharashtra, and then you have Gujarat. Okay, but where do you need to know? What exactly you need to know? That which is the state which is the best performing and which is the state which is the worst performing. So the best performing state when it's come to creating a positive debt to GDP ratio is going to be Odisha, which has the lowest debt to GDP ratio, and the worst performer is the state of Punjab. Okay, and this is not exactly good for a particular country or a particular state. Why? Because it breaks a golden rule of borrowing. So what exactly is the golden rule of borrowing? So golden rule of borrowing is that a particular state or a country can do two types of expenditure. One is your revenue expenditure, which is your day-to-day expenditure, and the other is your capital expenditure, which is your long-term expenditure. Now, good thing about your capital expenditure is that in the long term, this would provide me with revenue. A very good example is if I create an expressway or if I create any kind of infrastructure, people are going to use that infrastructure to contribute to my GDP. So in future, this capital expenditure is going to generate me even revenue. However, out of this revenue expenditure, nothing comes out. It is just an expenditure which is to be done every year, every day. Okay. So if a particular state is borrowing, for the purpose of capital expenditure, it is beneficial for the economy. But at the same time, if the borrowing are being used for their day-to-day expenditure, which means this borrowing in future is going to come to bite us. Okay, and that is a golden rule of borrowing, that if you are taking money from someone, if you are taking debt from someone, then that particular borrowing or debt should be used for capital expenditure or for generating revenue in future. So this golden rule of borrowing it not only applies to states or country, but it applies to an individual also. So if you are taking debt from someone, you should not be taking debt for your lifestyle, but you should be taking debt because you want to create a business or you want to earn a particular skill. Okay, so this is the golden rule of borrowing. Okay, now whatever data we have just studied is also, apart from CAG, there is another index known as fiscal health index. Who publishes this particular index? If you can mention it in the comment box. Okay, I'm giving you a chance. You can answer me in the comment box that who publishes this particular index. Yes, Eklavya, you are correct. Yes, Dev, Jitesh, Gargi, yes. So all of you have given the right answer. So it is your Niti Aayog. It is your Niti Aayog which publishes this fiscal health index. And as per this report also, what has been found is that Punjab is the worst performing state. Punjab is the worst performing state, and your Odisha is the best performing state when it's come to a state fiscal health. Okay, so this particular ranking is supported not by one institute but two institutes of the government, where Punjab is the worst performing, the lowest state, and Odisha is the best performing when it's come to fiscal health. Yes, so this becomes important for us to know. Okay, let's move to the next one. So next one is just a particular day. So because mental health has become very important discussion, has become a common drawing room discussion now. So that's why it becomes important for you to know that when does the world celebrates your World Mental Health Day. So you need to know that World Mental Health Day is celebrated on 10th of October. Okay, 10th of October is World Mental Health Day. And what was the theme of this year World Mental Health Day? So this is specifically also important for your A-Let examination, but this can be a question in your Clat examination also. So the theme of this year's World Mental Health Day was access to services, mental health in catastrophe and emergency. Okay, so this is regarding World Mental Health Day. Moving on to the next one. So the next news is with regard to United Nations Peacekeeping Force, and the reason we are studying about this particular force is because US has decided to cut off its particular budget for UN peacekeeping forces. So again, there's going to be a fund crunch for this particular forces also. Okay, so what is the history of this UN peacekeeping force? So this was established in the year 1948. Okay, shortly after the formation of United Nations, which itself was created in 45. UN peacekeepers are often called as blue helmets or blue berets because that is the color of the helmet which they wear. Okay, now who basically oversees the functioning of this peacekeeping forces? So it is basically overseen by United Nations Secretary General, while the Security Council authorizes its deployment. This is a very important point. So what you need to remember is that this UNPF, United Nations Peacekeeping Forces, although it was created through a resolution of General Assembly, it was created by whom? It was created by a resolution of General Assembly, United Nations General Assembly, UNGA. However, if this force, this peacekeeping force is to be deployed anywhere, the power rests solely with your United Nations Security Council. So if you find a question who has the power to deploy the peacekeeping forces in anywhere in the world, then you need to know that it is only the United Nations Security Council. Okay. Apart from it, what else you need to know is that which was the first ever UN peacekeeping mission. So this is also important for us because Israel-Hamas or your Israel-Gaza is an important issue this year, and the very first UN peacekeeping mission was for that particular region only, to maintain peace or to monitor the armistice agreement between Israel and the Arab neighbors. Okay, so first UN peacekeeping mission was created in May 1948, and it was for that particular purpose only, or that particular dispute only, which is still ongoing in the Middle East. Okay, so just remember this particular part. Apart from it, so this peacekeeping forces, so this is not a country's force. Okay, this is the force of the UN. So obviously the UN members are going to give troops to this particular peacekeeping force. So the largest number of troops are given by Bangladesh, second most are given by India, and third most are given by Pakistan only. Okay, so you need to know which are the largest troops contributing country. What about its financial donors? So US was I would say now US was the largest donor or financial contributor, contributing around 22%. Around 22% of the finances were given by US only, and other major contributors include China, Japan, Germany, and UK. Okay, so now because US is going to stop giving its particular finances, possibly China is going to overtake US as the largest financial donor right now. Okay, let's move to the next one. Next one is India to prepare a national red list of flora and fauna. Okay, so this year we had a particular meet of IUCN. Okay, so IUCN had its World Congress this year in Abu Dhabi, and our Ministry of Environment and Forest, our Minister of Environment Forest also participated there. And there India has announced that India is also create a Red Book of India. Okay, so just like IUCN has a very famous Red Book in which different animals, flora and fauna is categorized into different categories. Similarly, India is going to create a national red list of flora and fauna for the next 5 years. Okay, so between 25 to 30 we are going to create a red list of flora and fauna in India. Okay, and how many species are we going to cover? So a total of 11,000 species, of which 7,000 are plant species and 4,000 are animal species, are going to be covered by this national red list. Okay, who's going to implement this? So it is basically going to be overseen by Environment Ministry. But if I talk about the different departments or different organization, then it is going to be undertaken by Biological Survey of India, Geological Survey of India, and your Wildlife Institute of India. So these are the bodies which are basically going to be the implementing body for this national red list of flora and fauna. Okay, any questions till now? If you have any question, you can ask in the comment box. Okay, so let's continue with the next topic now. So next topic is your RSS, Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, and why we are studying about RSS is because RSS is one such organization which started functioning in 1925, and 2025 is the 100th anniversary or foundation year of your Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, which as per RSS is the largest cultural organization, largest non-political or volunteer organization of the world, not just of India, obviously of India, but not just of India, but of the world. Okay, now what specific points you need to know about RSS are that what is the foundation day, what is the exact date of foundation? So the exact date is 27 September 1925. Where is the headquarters? So headquarters is in Nagpur. What is the name of the headquarters if you want to know? So that is Dr. Hedgewar Bhavan. in Nagpur. Okay, so Nagpur is the headquarters city of RSS. Founded in 1925. Who's the founder? Dr. KB Hedgewar. Okay, so Dr. KB Hedgewar is the founder of RSS. Who are the current leaders of this particular organization? So currently the chief, who is known as Sar Sangchalak, is Mohan Bhagwat, and he has been the head of this particular organization since 2009. And other person is known as General Secretary, otherwise in Hindi known as Sir Karyeva. ठीक है, Sir Karyeva, and he is Dattatreya Hosable. Dattatreya Hosable is the current Sir Karyeva. Okay, what else you need to know about RSS is regarding its earlier history. So Hedgewar founded RSS to unite Hindus. So like Muslims and Muslim League, getting inspiration from Muslim League, he decided that there should be an organization for Hindus also, and that's why he founded RSS. One thing which he introduced was shakhas, which is basically your daily training session. So in the morning and in the evening, you were supposed to go and present yourself at shakha, and there you were given some amount of physical training and some amount of your mental exercises also. Okay, now very important thing which happened in RSS history was that it was joined by another stalwart. Okay, and that was MS Golwalkar. So after Hedgewar death, MS Golwalkar, who is popularly called as Guruji, he became the chief or Sar Sangchalak of RSS, and he became the ideological head, or he became the ideological inspiration for RSS for its future works. And all of his work is compiled in Bunch of Thoughts. So you are supposed to know the book name also. So MS Golwalkar book is known as Bunch of Thoughts, which is the ideological basis of RSS right now. Okay, now let's look at the major events which took place in RSS history. So RSS had been banned 3 times. So in the history of RSS, since pre-independence, it has been banned 3 times. First time it was banned in the year 1948 because it was alleged that Nathuram Godse, who assassinated Mahatma Gandhi, RSS was behind it. Okay, however, these allegations were never proved, and in 1949 it accepted Constitution of India. Because in 1949 it accepted Constitution of India, the ban was also removed. Okay, then in 1951 RSS ideologically supported the formation of Bharatiya Janata Sangh. Okay, so one thing you need to remember is that ban was removed because it accepted one particular condition of the government, which is it is going to be a non-political organization. Okay, so one promise which RSS had to make to the government to lift its ban was that is going to be a non-political organization. It's going to be involved in the cultural organization only, which means it is not going to convert itself into a political party. Okay, it is not going to be converted into a political party. So that's why when some of the leaders came together to create a political party, it basically supported the formation of that party, but it never attached itself to that party directly. Okay, and that party was Bharatiya Janata Sangh, which was created in 1951, and it was created by Shyama Prasad Mukherjee. So the founder of Bharatiya Janata Sangh or BJS, it was Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, which later became BJP in 1980. So earlier there was Bharatiya Janata Sangh. In the 1980s, it became your BJP, the current BJP party who is ruling India for the last 10 years. Okay, so in 1980, BJS became BJP, led by Lal Krishna Advani, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, and other major leaders of your BJP. Okay, the second ban after 1948, the second ban came in the year 1975 during emergency. So during emergency, many political parties were banned, and one such organization was also RSS. And the third ban came in the year 1992 when the Babri Masjid demolition took place, and it was believed that RSS was one such organization which directly supported the Kar Sevaks who were involved in demolition of Babri Masjid. Okay, so these are the 3 important events when your RSS was banned. Okay, and right now it is the largest volunteer organization. Okay, let's move to the next one. Next particular news is, let me look at any questions if you have. So I've already covered your RSS topic, 100-year completed. Okay, next news is your UN Security Council 1267 Sanctions Committee. So why it is called as 1267 Sanctions Committee? Because whenever UN Security Council or your United Nations in general, if it wants to take any decision for that particular purpose, it has to pass a resolution. So in the year 1999, a particular sanctions committee was created, and its main purpose was to basically target organization or terrorist organizations like Al-Qaeda and Taliban. Okay, so originally when it was created in 1999, it initially targeted leaders of Al-Qaeda and Taliban. Okay, however, now its exposure has been increased, and it not just covers your Al-Qaeda and Taliban terrorists, but it also covers your ISIL and other global terrorist group. So if the United Nations wants to sanction a particular terrorist or a particular organization, it is going to be the 1267 sanctions committee which is going to take actions in the United Nations. Okay, what are the powers of the sanction committee? So what all it can do? So it can freeze assets of designated individuals and groups. It can ask for travel bans of those particular person, like Amir Khan Mutawi, who visited India recently. He was one such person who was sanctioned by the 1267 committee. His name was there in this committee. So before he came to India, his name was removed from this particular committee or this from sanctions list, and then only he could visit India. Okay, and also it can create an arms embargo on the particular organization or that particular country also. Okay, very important point. Decisions under this 1267 committee can only be taken by consensus. Okay, which means out of the 15 members of Security Council, even if one does a veto, in that particular case, that person cannot be delisted. Okay, China, Pakistan. So what is the context of this particular, why we are reading about it? Because there is a very famous organization now, and that organization is known as Baluchistan Liberation Army. And there is a specific unit of this particular BLA which is called as Majid Brigade, and it is considered as to be the suicide wing. So what is the modus operandi of Majid Brigade? So they basically do suicide bombing. Okay, and what China, Pakistan had requested this 1267 sanctions committee is that BLA and Majid Brigade should be banned or should be sanctioned under the 1267 committee. However, this particular request of theirs has not been accepted. However, you are supposed to know what exactly are BLA and Majid Brigade. So what is BLA? BLA is a separatist militant group fighting for an independent Baluchistan, frequently targeting Pakistan state institution. Majid Brigade, founded in 2011 as BLA's Suicide Squad, specifically targeting security forces and Chinese project in Pakistan. So they are not just targeting your Pakistani security forces, but they are also targeting Chinese projects in Pakistan, which passes through Baluchistan. Okay, so Baluchistan is the largest province of Pakistan in terms of area, but it is also the least populated. It is the least populated region of Pakistan. And Baluchis people, who are the people of Baluchistan, believe that rest of Pakistan is basically exploiting the Baluchis. Okay, and that's why they do not support the Chinese project in Baluchistan also. Okay, so this is something which you are supposed to know, that which is the committee under which your United Nations puts different kind of sanctions on different terrorist organization. Okay, moving on to the next one, carbon border adjustment mechanism. So this is also another important topic which everyone needs to know, that there is a kind of carbon tax which is being imposed by European countries. Okay, and what is the mechanism by which they basically implement this particular taxes? So let's understand it with an example. Let's say I am a iron company, I am a steel company. Okay, I am a steel manufacturing plant, and I am located in France. And because France is part of the European Union, EU has suggested to France that you have to impose carbon tax. You have to impose carbon tax on manufacturing units producing steel in France. Okay, so let's say if the cost of production of steel is, let's say, 100 rupees, and because a lot of carbon is produced, let's say this particular company has to pay a carbon tax of 50 rupees. Which means if this particular company goes to the market and sell its particular steel, is going to cost around 150. Let's say there is some other country, let's take example of India. India being a developing country where the cost of labor is also being cheap. Let's say the cost of production is, let's say, 90. Okay, so the cost of production is 90. Let's add some transportation cost, let's say 30 rupees is the transportation cost. So if this Indian company makes steel in India and export that steel to, let's say, France, it is going to cost how much there? 120 rupees. So you can see here, because of this particular carbon tax, the French company has become uncompetitive with the Indian company where no carbon tax is being imposed. So what one solution your Europe has decided is that if any kind of import, if any import is done from a country where no carbon tax is imposed or very less carbon tax is imposed, in that particular case, this CBAM, carbon border adjustment mechanism, is going to be levied on them. So for example, let's say India levies for the same amount of steel being produced, let's say India levies a carbon tax of, let's say, 20 rupees. Okay, then what would happen? This 20 would also add, and now my particular cost of steel in France has become 140. But as you can see, it is still 10 rupees less. So what EU has decided, that importers must pay the difference between EU carbon prices and those paid in the exporting countries. So what they want to do is that this 20 should not be just 20, it should be equivalent to what is the carbon tax in the European countries. So for example, if 20 is being charged as carbon tax by Indian authorities, then 30 rupees is going to be the CBAM, so that there is no advantage of shifting your particular company to a foreign country where no carbon tax is paid. So, for example, if this French company decides that it is better if I shift my manufacturing plant into India and then import the same product into France. So, to basically send this particular message that you are not going to get any benefit of carbon taxes, what it has decided. So, whatever is the difference of the tax which you have already paid and what you are supposed to pay in EU, that particular difference is to be paid as a CBAM. Okay, and why we are studying about is because India's steel industry is facing the highest CBAM. So in the world, if we calculate different CBAM or carbon tax which is imposed on the imported goods, the highest is being paid by the steel industry of India only. And that's why India has strongly opposed CBAM, calling it as a non-tariff barrier or a disguised protectionism. So it's a form of disguised protectionism being used by the developed countries to stop Indian imports into Europe. Okay, so this becomes important for us. Okay, let's move to the next one, and something which is directly related to all of you, which is that there has been a spate of protests. So many protests are going on in different countries. Now they have subsided, but just a month ago, a lot of protests were happening in different countries around the world, which basically started in Nepal, and then it also occurred in Indonesia, Philippines, Morocco, and Madagascar also. Okay, and one of the important thing about this particular protest was that it was not led by some political leader or some activist, but it was led by the Generation Z. So they are otherwise are also called as Gen Z protests. Some of you might be from the Gen Z also. Okay, so just comment if you are a Gen Z. Okay, so you need to know what exactly are Gen Z, what are the different kind of generations we talk about. Okay, so before we go into different generation cohorts, let's understand what is common cause of countries. So one of the reason is that there is a lot of inequality in the world. Employment opportunities are also very less, and there is a lot of nepotism being seen in different countries of the world, and the youth is basically frustrated. So because all of the youth has access to social media, they have started venturing out their anger on social media, and now this social media anger has converted into street-led protest also, which in case of Nepal led to uprooting of the current government also. Okay, so that is the common cause across countries. Okay, so let's look at generation cohorts. So again, becomes very important for you to understand what are the different types of generations which we talk about in our daily life for your CLAT as well as for your ALET examination. Okay, so there is one Gen Z with us. Okay, so you have the greatest generation. So people who were born in between 1901 to 1927, they are called themselves as greatest generation. So possibly they must be the one who decided to name this particular generation, and they have called themselves the greatest generation. Okay, next is your silent generation. So because they did not call their particular act, that's why they call themselves greatest generation, and they have been called as silent generation. So 1928 to 45, people born in this particular period are considered to be the silent generation. The next generation from 46 to 64, people born in this particular era are called as baby boomers. Then we have the generation X. So people born between 65 to 80 are called as generation X. Next are millennials, generation Y. The generation I belong to, millennials, we are the best. So we were the one who were born between 1981-96. And we are otherwise also called as generation Y or eco-boomers. Next is the Gen Z. So people, all of you who were born between 97 and 2012, all of you are considered to be generation Z, also called as I generation, because iPhone also came in this period, and you are also called as Zoomers. Then the next generation, which is going to be, which was born between 2013 to 2024, is going to be called as generation Alpha. Next, the people who are going to be born in the next 15 years, in the next 25 years, generation not 25, 15, 25 to 39 projected population, those are going to be considered as generation beta. So now I think we have moved to the Greek letters alpha, beta and gamma. Okay, so these are the different generations which you are supposed to know, that what is the era, if you are born in that particular era, which generation you belong to. Okay. So are we going to cover Thai Cambodia Armenia conflict in the session? Not today, Abhishek. We have already covered it through MIT, so we are not going to cover, and it's going to take a lot of time. Okay. Let's move to the next one, but believe me, a lot of important topics are to be covered. Okay, so US visa debate is also there. So the context is Donald Trump had announced a sharp increase of $100,000 into H-1B visa application fee. So additional $1 lakh is to be given if you want to apply for H-1B visa, which was already which already had so many other expenditures also. Okay, so what you need to know is what are the different types of visa, what are the different particulars of those particular visa. For example, the visa which is the most known or which is always in use is the H-1B visa. So this H-1B visa, which is, or all of these visas are under the Immigration Act. All of these are in the Immigration Act of 1990 of USA, and the most famous one is the H-1B visa, which is a visa which is created for specialty occupation. For specialty occupation, which simply means that if you are someone who specializes in a particular work, then you then a US company can basically ask you to come to US on this particular visa. Okay. However, a total of 85,000 visas are allocated every year, of which 65,000 are regular and 20,000 are additional. So a total of 85,000 visas are allocated every year. So this is the annual cap. Okay. And one of the important condition under this particular visa is that for this particular visa, employer has to prove that they are paying the prevailing wage and not displacing US workers. Okay, so it already has a high fees. Moreover, this H-1B visa is valid for 3 years and it can be extended for another 3 years. Okay, so there is a validity also. It is not like that if you got this H-1B visa, you are going to be permanent resident of that particular country. So this particular visa for the initial time is valid for 3 years, then for another 3 years also. Okay. Next another important visa different from H-1B visa is the L-1 visa, which is only for intra-company transfers. Okay, so for example, let's say you are a employee of Microsoft India, and Microsoft India want you to shift to Microsoft US. So rather than using the H-1B visa route, they can use this L-1 visa route also. There are two categories for it. One is L-1A and one is L-1B. L-1A is for executive managers. It is up to 7 years. And L-1B is for people with specialized knowledge, and it is up to 5 years. Okay, so we have H1B and your L1. These are the points related to L1 visa. Other visas which you need to know is your F1 visa, which is a student visa. So in case in future you decide to go for higher study in US, then you have to have F1 visa. And then you have this L2 visa, which is related to L1 visa, which is basically the visa for spouses of L1 people. Okay, and for H1B visa, the spouses of H1B visa have the H4 visa. Okay, so H1B visa spouses have the H4 visa. Moving on to the next one. Next topic is Abraham Accords. So the context is that apart from other Muslim countries, Kazakhstan possibly is going to be the next country which is going to sign the Abraham Accord. So Kazakhstan, which is a very important, a large Central Asian power, a Central Asian country, a Muslim majority country, is going to be the next country which is going to sign Abraham Accord, which is an initiation of US and is going to sign with Israel. Okay. Now, what exactly is Abraham Accord? So, Abraham Accord is going to be a series of agreement wherein your Muslim countries are going to normalize diplomatic relations with Israel. What do we mean by this normalizing diplomatic relation? It simply means that these countries are going to recognize Israel as a sovereign country. So interestingly, even after 75 years of its formation, Israel is still not recognized by many Muslim countries, including our neighbor Pakistan. Pakistan also does not recognize Israel as a country. However, a breakthrough was made in 2020. In 2020, when US announced that certain Muslim countries which had earlier not recognized Israel have decided to sign Abraham Accords, under which these countries are going to recognize Israel. And which were the first countries which signed these particular agreement? So initially it was signed by UAE and Bahrain. Okay, and later on in the same year, Sudan and Morocco also signed this particular agreement. So there are 4 countries who have already signed this particular agreement, Abraham Accords, wherein they are going to recognize Israel as a sovereign country. First is UAE, second is Bahrain, third is Sudan, and fourth is Morocco. And fifth is going to be Kazakhstan. And possibly, if we could find a solution to the Israel-Hamas issue or Gaza issue, then possibly other Muslim countries like Saudi Arabia may sign it in future also. Okay, moving on to the next one. Another important day, another important personality from related to your modern history. So it becomes an important static topic also, and this is also a important GK topic this year because it is a modern history topic also as well as a current issue also. Okay, so on October 31st we celebrated our National Unity Day, which is basically celebrated on the birth anniversary of our first Home Minister and our first Deputy Prime Minister, Sardar Patel. So what you need to know is, you need to know about this October 31st, what was the theme of this year, what exactly did we do on this particular day, and some specific facts about your Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel also. So your October 31st, which is also known as Rashtriya Ekta Divas, is celebrated every year on October 31st. This year is very important. Why? Because this is the 150th birth anniversary of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. So if Sardar Patel would have been alive today, he would have been 150-year-old. Okay, so this is very important points. Some other important points about Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. So what was his profession before he came into active politics? So before he came into politics, he was a very successful lawyer. Okay, which are the freedom struggle or which are the freedom movements he was related to? So he actually got inspired from Gandhiji when he was part of the Kheda Satyagraha. Okay, and later on he also led a Nagpur Satyagraha. So Nagpur Satyagraha, Kheda Satyagraha are related to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Moreover, he also was related to a very important Satyagraha, which is the Bardoli Satyagraha. And why it is important? Because it is this particular Satyagraha where the common men and the common women who were involved in the Satyagraha give him the title of Sardar. Okay, so earlier Vallabhbhai Patel was only known as Vallabhbhai Patel or Patel Bhai, but later on in 1928 when he basically participated in this Bardoli Satyagraha and shown his leadership skills, then he was given the title of Sardar by the people of Bardoli. Okay, and then when we became independent, he was the home minister, he was also head of information and broadcasting ministry, and he was also the first deputy prime minister. But his biggest achievement or his biggest contribution to post independent India is considered to be his role in integrating the 560 plus princely states into the Indian Union. So you can understand how big a task this was, that you have to convince 560 plus princely states who were otherwise independent to not become part of Pakistan, to not become independent, but be part of Indian Union. Okay, so that is the largest, biggest contribution with Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, and that's why his birth anniversary is celebrated as your National Unity Day or your Ekta Divas on 31st October. Okay, let's move to the next one. So next important issue which we are going to cover is the ASEAN. So every year your Clat consortium asks a question on international organization. So this year, apart from BIMSTEC and SEO, ASEAN is also very important organization, international organization, which we need to study. So what are the basics of ASEAN? So formally established on 8th August 67 by 5 members. So currently it has how many members? So you tell me in the comment box how many total members are there in ASEAN right now. Okay, so let me continue from here. ASEAN established on 8th August 67 and originally it had 5 members only. It is an intergovernment regional organization to promote political economic and security cooperation. Okay, which declaration led to the formation of ASEAN? So it was the Bangkok Declaration, which was signed by the founding members. And yes, Dev, Purval, Abhishek and Pranav, Jitesh, all of you are giving the correct answer. Sanyukta has given the correct answer. Someone gave a wrong answer, could not see his name. He had given the wrong answer. Yes. So Pranav, everyone is giving the right answer. The right answer is that now it has 11 members, and the newest member who became a member in the recent 47th ASEAN Summit is East Timor or Timor-Leste. East Timor or Timor-Leste is the same name. Okay, this is the name of the same country. Where is the headquarter of this particular body? So the headquarter is in Jakarta, Indonesia. Okay, so these are the 10 countries, but now it has how many members? It has now 11 members. Okay, now what about India-ASEAN relationship? So we had a Look East policy which we launched in 1991. So we launched a Look East policy, which basically meant that we have been, for so long, we have been focusing on only our western countries or on our western borders, specifically looking at the Pakistan and other countries. Now it is time that we should start looking towards our east also and should start making diplomatic relations with the eastern countries. And then a particular shift was made, and we started making, or we started having relationship or started making economic relationships specifically with our eastern neighbors also. Okay, however, a big change was made in 2014 when we converted our Look East policy into Act East policy, which was basically a signal that India is not just going to be concentrating or looking towards the east, but is going to act on its policy or its promises also, which means we are not just going to be involved diplomatically, but we are going to create economic relationships. We are going to be focused on economic relationship as well as on other spheres of participation or cooperation, like your defense. We are going to have defense relationship also, and we are going to cooperate in other sectors also. So with this particular agenda, we changed our Look East policy into Act East policy. Okay, why is ASEAN important? So ASEAN is a group of very small 11 countries, but as a particular bloc, it has a lot of negotiation power, and you can see here it accounts for about 11% of India's international trade, and as a bloc, ASEAN is one of the top five economic partners of India also. Okay, but in ASEAN, which is our largest trading partner, so it is Singapore. Singapore is also the country from where we get the highest amount of FDI and also the highest ODI, outward direct investment, also moves to Singapore also. However, India has a trade deficit with ASEAN, which means we import more from ASEAN and we export less to ASEAN. Okay, next is ASEAN-India Trade in Goods Agreement. ITGA is a key trade agreement, so which means we have a FTA in goods, and it was signed in 2010. And separately, we signed a particular FTA in services also later on. Okay, and why 2026 is important? Because this year has been announced as the year of ASEAN India Maritime Cooperation. So this becomes also very important. Okay, and one very important addition to all this ASEAN news, that what was the summit this year? Where did the summit took place? So this was the 47th ASEAN Summit. This took place in Kuala Lumpur, and the theme was inclusivity and sustainability. Okay, and why it is important? Because after a very long time period, a new member has become a permanent member of this ASEAN grouping, and that member being the 11th member being Timor-Leste or East Timor. Okay, and who's going to be the next particular ASEAN chair? It is going to be Philippines. Okay, so yes, 2015 was the year when we signed the FTA in services with ASEAN. Okay, so let's move to the next news now. Rare earth elements. Okay, so rare earth elements are also in news because they are a very important component of all the electronics which are being produced. All the defense equipment which we are producing requires some amount of a rare earth element. And why it is important is because there is one country which has a full monopoly or has a complete dominance over manufacturing of these rare earth elements, and that is not a good news for India. Why? Because that country is China. So that is not a good news for India, that is not a good news for US also and other Western countries, because China, which is an adversary of ours, is the global leader when it's come to manufacturing or refining of these particular rare earth elements. So what do you need to know? How many rare earth elements are there? So there are 17 elements, 15 are considered or categorized as lanthanides, and then you have scandium and yttrium, which were discovered later on. Okay, usually they are silvery white in color, they have unique magnetic, luminescent and electrochemical properties. That's why they become an important component of our electronic products. Okay, now you are not supposed to know these particular names of all the 17 elements, just have an idea of this. What are the uses? So they are found in small quantities, but they are very important. So they are used in electronics, they are key for our EV or for our mobility, renewable energy systems, medical devices and oil refining also. They have a very vital role in our defense applications, like they are used in F-35 jets, the most advanced jets, in missiles and radars also, and its shortage can lead to disrupt global supply chain. Okay, so I've added a particular picture. It's not actually a particular rare earth elements, and it is something which Pakistan claims it has, and it is called as unobtainium, which something cannot be obtained. So many scientists believe that it is possible, or there might be one particular mineral which we have still not found, which would have an atomic number of 121 and mass number of 242, and it would be called as unobtainium, and possibly Pakistan is one country which might be having it. Okay, so it's a joke. Do not consider that unobtainium is actually a rare earth element. Okay, but are they actually rare? What do you mean by that? What do you mean by the term rare earth elements? So in geological term, they are not rare, but they are not found in a good concentration at a place, which means commercially exploiting them becomes very difficult. And because of this particular reason, they are considered to be rare earth elements. So you can find there are certain deposits of these elements in India also, but if we try to mine them, then it's going to be cost prohibitive. Okay, so that's why we do not basically mine them. And the current problem with rare element is, or the world facing, is that a lot of it is being dominated by one country only, and that is China. So China dominates 60% of global mining, 90% plus of refining and magnet output. Moreover, when it's come to some higher form of or the least available rare earth element, China has complete dominance over mining and your refining also. Around 99 to 100% is only under China's control only. So that's why it becomes also very important for India and other countries to find an alternative of China in this particular case. Okay, but that is why this is important. Okay, let's look at the next one, Sir Creek dispute. Okay, so this is also important. So as you can see here, this is the map of Gujarat. This particular part is your Sir Creek, and it is disputed between Pakistan and India. Red line is the line which India claims is the border between India and Pakistan is Sir Creek. Green line is the claim line by Pakistan. However, the reason why it is disputed is because Britishers left it open for interpretation to the succeeding countries of India and Pakistan. Okay, so let's understand what exactly Sir Creek dispute. But first the basics. So what exactly it is? So it is a tidal estuary which is 96 kilometer long, and it is part of Run of Kutch, which is part of Gujarat as well as in Pakistan. Okay, so what is the dispute exactly about? So this Sir Creek region has not been demarcated properly, and that's why there is a dispute. And the dispute originates from the 1914 Bombay Resolution, which basically defines the boundary between the Sindh province and the Kutch princely state. Okay, now what happened in 47 was that Sindh became part of Pakistan and your Kutch princely state became part of India, and that's why we were never able to resolve this Creek dispute. Okay, one thing which you need to know is that in the 1914 resolution, there is a paragraph 9, which says the eastern bank, the Pakistan claimed bank, is the border of Sir Creek. So the eastern bank of this particular Sir Creek is going to be the border between Sindh province and your Kutch. However, the next paragraph itself, the next para 10 of this particular resolution, talks about the Thalweg principle, and it says that in case of a navigable channel, the Thalweg principle, which basically is based on the midline principle. So let's say if there is a navigable channel where you simply can use ships or boats. If this is the navigable channel, then if there is a country 1 on this bank and there is country 2 on this bank, then a midline, a center line is going to be drawn. So this portion is going to be of country 1, this portion is going to be of country 2. Okay, so Thalweg principle is an internationally accepted principle. And why India argues that we are going to accept or use the Thalweg principle? Because there is a 1925 map also. So there is a 1925 British map which says or which shows Thalweg principle as applicable, when it's come to Sir Creek dispute. Okay, so that's why India claims that because even Britishers in 1925 have divided the Sir Creek between your Sindh province and Kutch, so we are going to use that particular map only. Okay, so this is an explanation of Thalweg principle. So you can see it here, how this Thalweg or the midline basically divides the area between two different countries. Okay, so then in 1965 we had a Indo-Pak war. So Run of Kutch became a disputed portion, and in 1968 to resolve this, a UN tribunal was created. However, this tribunal decided to give 90% of Run of Kutch to India, and only 10% was given to Pakistan. However, it did not decide upon Sir Creek. So this Sir Creek dispute has been continuing since our independence only. Okay, so India's claim is based on the 1914 resolution Thalweg principle and 1925. Pakistan position is also based on the 1914 resolution, which basically says the eastern bank is the border. But India follows the international principle Thalweg and says that rather than the whole territory being in control of Pakistan, we are going to follow the Thalweg principle and is going to be equally divided. Okay, and why both countries are fighting? Because whatever midline principle or the border we decide between India and Pakistan, it is going to decide who's going to have hold over this particular area, who's going to own this particular area. And this area is important because this particular area is rich in hydrocarbons, as well as it is also a rich fisheries ground also. Okay, which are the security force involved in manning this particular region? So on the Indian side, it is basically guarded by your border security force. When it comes to coastal area, it is going to be the Coast Guard, and in the open waters, going to be Indian Navy. From Pakistan side, we have a Creek Battalion, which is part of Pak Marines, and it is the specialized force of Pakistan Navy, which guards the Pakistan area. Okay, and why it is important? Because it is a very rich oil and gas reserve area. Fishing ground is also there, maritime zone is there, and it has a strategic access to the Indian Ocean. Okay, let's move to the next one, Zoran Mamdani. So this is one person you supposed to know his name for your Clat and elite preparation. Why? Because Zoran Mamdani, who calls himself a democratic socialist, and if this election would have taken place before Donald Trump, it would be hard to imagine that in a capitalist country like US, a socialist can win an election. Okay, any kind of election, even at the local level. However, Zoran Mamdani has become the mayor of one of the largest city, or the largest city of US and one of the largest city of the world, New York. Okay, and why his appointment is important? Because he is the first Muslim. Okay, so imagine New York is the place where your twin towers are located, and now in that particular city a Muslim is becoming the mayor of that particular city. And not just the first Muslim, he is also a person of South Asian origin. Both his father and mother, his mother being a very famous film director Meera Nair, were born in India. Later they moved to African country, if I'm not wrong. It was, I think they have moved to Nigeria or some other country, and now they are citizens of US only. And now Zoran Mamdani, who is just 34 years old, a very young person, has become the youngest mayor of New York also. Okay, so this is also an important point. Okay, any question till now? Otherwise let's move to the okay, let's move to the chess topic. Chess is also a very important topic for us. So let's look at the basic of chess. Okay, basic of chess. So originally it originated, so chess originated in India only. And what was the original name of chess in India? So it was called as Chaturanga. And when it was invented, so it was invented during the Gupta rule. Okay, later on it spread to Persia, and the name Shatranj, which we believed is an Indian, is not an Indian name, it's a Persian name. So Persian called it Shatranj and modified it a little bit. Then it went to Europe, and Europeans also modified it, and the current modern chess was developed in or evolved in the 15th century Europe only. Okay, what is the context of this particular news? So this year Divya Deshmukh won the world champion, won the candidates tournament, and the runner-up was also another Indian, Koneru Hampi. And because they won the candidates tournament, both of them qualified. Both of them have qualified for the world championship. Okay, so they are going to be the challengers in the world championship. Other thing which is very important for you to know in chess is that there is a title of Grandmaster. Who is considered to be a Grandmaster? So FIDE, which is the regulating authority of chess in India, they give you the title of Grandmaster if you complete or if you fulfill these three requirements. You don't have to fulfill just one requirement, you have to fulfill all the three requirements. First is you have to cross 2500 LO ratings at any point. You have to achieve 3 GM norms by strong performances in FIDE rated international tournament. Okay, so there are many number of norms are there, so you have to achieve at least the 3 of those GM norms. And third is norms. These norms has to be achieved against an opponent including grandmasters from multiple countries. Okay, so if you fulfill these 3 requirements, then only FIDA declare you to be worthy of title of Grandmaster. Okay, what are the different types of chess formats? So you have the classical format, you have the rapid format, you have the blitz format, and then you have the bullet format, depending on what is the time period for a particular person to take any action. Okay, now there is some confusion regarding two particular kind of championship. One is your FID World Cup, one is your World Chess Championship. So FID World Cup is a knockout format, and if you won this particular tournament, you are considered to be a World Cup winner. On the other side, we have this World Chess Championship, which is a different kind of tournament, and wherein you have to first win the candidates tournament. If you win that particular tournament, then you can challenge in the final rounds the previous year winner. Okay, and that's what exactly Divya Deshmukh and Koneru Hampi are going to do. They are going to contest against Ju Wenzhun, who's the current women's world chess champion, and the winners of candidate tournaments go and try to compete against this particular person in the finals tournament. Okay, who's the first Indian to win the main FID World Cup Open was Vishwanath Anand. So Vishwanath Anand has won the World Cup also, and he has also been crowned the World Chess Champion also. Okay, so he's become both. Okay, what is special about Divya Deshmukh? So he has become the first Indian woman to win the FIDE Women Chess World Cup in Batumi, Georgia. So where did this World Cup took place? So this took place in your Batumi, Georgia. So first women to win the Chess World Cup also. Okay, she earned the title of Grandmaster. She is India's 88th Grandmaster and 4th women Grandmaster. So you are supposed to know all the 4 women Grandmaster of India also. She also won World Junior Championship and also helped India win India's Olympiad also, Olympic gold also. Okay, apart from it, other personality which was in news this year was D. Gukesh. He is the youngest world champion ever. He defeated Ding Liren this year only, and he became the youngest world champion, world chess champion. Okay, but he is not the first one to be world chess champion. First one was Vishwanath Anand only. Okay, what about India's grandmaster? Total grandmasters in India are 88, including 4 women grandmaster. First Indian grandmaster was Vishwanath Anand, and who are the 4 women grandmasters? So you need to know all 4 people: Koneru Hampi, D Harika, R Vaishali, and Divya Deshmukh. So these are the 4 people who are the current grandmasters, who are the top 5 chess players. So Magnus Carlsen of Norway is a top chess player. Then next, followed by Hikaru Nakamura, then Fabiano Caruana, P Ramesh Babu, and your D Gukesh, and then Arjun Erigaisi. So by this particular listing, you can see here 3 Indians are there, and who's the top chess player right now? So it is R Pragananda, okay, or Pragananda Ramesh Babu. Okay, so these are the top 5 chess players. Other thing which we need to cover is, I think Justin has already covered Women World Cup with you all and Asia Cup. We have to cover ICC Champions Trophy also. So this has been a very good year for men and women cricket in India, and we were the reigning champion of this year's Champions Trophy. So Champions Trophy, which was introduced in '98 as the ICC knockout tournament. The first edition was held in Bangladesh, where South Africa was a winner. In 2000, so earlier it was called as ICC knockout tournament, and in 2002 it was renamed as ICC Champions Trophy. What is India's record? So it has won the Champions Trophy the most number of times, and it has won it 3 times. So in 2002 we were joint winners with Sri Lanka. In 2013 when it took place in England, India won the Champions Trophy, and finally again in 2025 in Pakistan. So this was hosted by Pakistan. India won the Champions Trophy after defeating New Zealand. Okay, so this is India's record. Then some important information regarding Champions Trophy. So host country was Pakistan. This was the 9th edition. This was an ODI format. Which means it was a 50-over game. There were top 8 ICC ranked teams in ODI cricket which participated in this particular tournament. It was basically hosted by Pakistan, but because India refused to play in Pakistan, all of Indian matches were played in Dubai only. So final was also played in Dubai because India was the finalist. Okay, so what happened in the Champions Trophy final? India basically defeated New Zealand at the Dubai International Cricket Stadium. India won by 4 wickets. Who was the man of the match in final? So it was Rohit Sharma who was the man of tournament. Rachin Ravindra for his performance with his bat, and which is the most successful team. So it is India, which has won 3 titles in 2002, 2013 and 2025. Okay, and with this particular topic we are done with the session. So I had thought that I would try to complete all the topics, although I know I was at a little bit fast, but still it was important that we cover all the important topics from your September, October and November months also. In future, if we feel like that another session is required for you all, we'll conduct another session, and keep watching Clat Prep channel so that if any new session is announced, you are aware of it. Moreover, we are also going to start some special classes for Clat and ALET as the time arrives. Okay, in case you have any suggestions, any feedback with regard to this particular GK marathon or anything else, or in case you need any help from Clat Prep, then you can simply message in the comment box of this particular chat. Once this particular class gets over, because all these comments would not be visible, once this class gets over, in the comment section you can comment whatever your feedback or any suggestion for us is. Okay, so with this message, let's end today's session. Thank you and have a very nice day.